Chapter 4878. Pudding didn't expect to encounter such a ridiculous situation in the city. She and her father usually treated their clients to meals in their own big hotels or famous restaurants. They never came to places like this where good people mixed with bad people. She didn't expect to be cheated the first time she came. She immediately lost the mood to eat, 9,800 yuan for a meal. Expensive. It really wasn't expensive. When Pudding treated her clients to meals in big hotels, it would cost 30 to 50,000 yuan. Sometimes, a bottle of red wine would cost 50 to 60,000 yuan. But that depended on the place. Pudding didn't believe that this place would cost so much. Also, the crabs she ordered weren't some rare species. They were a local kind of crab that sold at the market for 100 yuan per catty. She ordered 10 crabs. At most, they were about 5 catties. Even if the food stall was more expensive than the market, it would be at most 1,000 yuan. Even if the remaining dishes were added together, it was impossible for it to be close to 10,000 yuan. What was this? Expensive seafood. Was this something that was reported in a famous tourist city in the country a long time ago? The owner of a seafood restaurant probably cheated tourists. Even the prawns were priced at 38 yuan per shrimp. So, her bamboo shrimp weren't priced by the price, were they? Pudding wanted to laugh. How did it feel to be cheated in your hometown? What do you guys mean? If you can't afford it, don't eat. The blonde seemed to be provoking them on purpose. Are you bullshitting? My shoes cost 30,000 yuan, and you say that I can't afford your food stall? Do you have any fucking idea who we are? Tang Tianjiao had a bad temper. He reached out and grabbed the blonde's neck. Then, he clenched his teeth and cursed. Boss, help! A customer is hitting me. The blonde's shout immediately attracted everyone's attention. The boss, who was sitting at the door with a gold chain around his neck, stood up and walked over with a watermelon knife in his hand. Behind him were 3 to 5 well-built men. What's going on? Boss, they're here to provoke us, not to eat, the blonde said as he pointed at the group of people. I'm the boss here. If you have a problem, come at me. Don't bully my employees. The boss spoke with a gangster aura. Then, he pulled the blonde away from Tang Tianjiao's hand. Is this a black restaurant? The 7 of us need 9,800 yuan for a meal. Are you kidding me? Gao Buiyuan looked at the boss and spoke first. All of you ordered rare seafood, so it's normal for the price to be high. Don't come if you can't afford it. The boss had the posture of an unscrupulous shop owner. He even dared to speak arrogantly about rare seafood. Then look at me, don't I look like your father? Tang Tianjiao's mouth had always been very sarcastic. Usually, he was very good at scolding people. The moment he opened his mouth, he would push the conflict to the top. After being scolded like this, the boss immediately lost his face. He directly raised his knife and slashed over. Brat, who are you scolding? If I don't kill you today, but before the knife could fall, someone shouted from behind, wait. The boss turned around and saw a bald man walking over with a group of people behind him. There were about 12 or 13 of them, and all of them were wearing flowery clothes. They looked very sociable. The only thing missing was a tattoo of Peppa Pig on her shoulder. Big Brother Tao, you're here. When the boss saw the man named Big Brother Tao, he immediately became listless. Big Brother Tao was the manager of this food stall. He was the leader of the 7 Stars Gang, a well-known local gang. He was always followed by a group of gangsters. He was about 37 or 38 years old, and he was lustful, greedy, and liked to gamble. What's going on? Why are you bullying the little beauties? Big Brother Tao kept glancing at Pudding, Little Bean, Chow Tuanchuan, and Xiao Yuanyuan as he spoke. His subordinates were right. There were two pairs of stunningly beautiful twins here. They were going to be in luck tonight. Chapter 4879. Big Brother Tao, these people are looking for trouble. The boss pointed at these children. It was also a case of the guilty party complaining first. Let's not hurt each other. The most important thing is to have fun, right? Can someone tell me what's going on? Then, Big Brother Tao looked at Pudding. Pudding was the oldest of the girls and was dressed more maturely than Little Bean. Therefore, she attracted the attention of this scumbag uncle. We're here to eat. After we order, they let us pay the bill. I'll take out 10,000 yuan and give you 200 yuan back. I don't think the food we're eating costs more than 9,000 yuan, is that so? Big Brother Tao looked back at the owner. They're eating expensive food. They ordered 10 crabs at 300 yuan each. The crabs alone cost 3,000 yuan. If they can't afford it, they shouldn't have ordered. Go and get your menu. If it says 300 yuan each, then I'll take it, Pudding said calmly. Our menu fluctuates. Regular customers know that there's no fixed menu. It's all based on the current price. So it's convenient for you to rip off your customers. Pudding glared at the man. Nonsense. What evidence do you have to prove that I'm ripping off my customers? The owner's voice became fiercer. Some customers were so scared that they hurriedly paid the bill and ran away. Pudding took out her phone. Okay. I'll call the Bureau of Commodity Prices now and ask them to confirm it. Pudding was about to make the call when Big Brother Tao stopped her. What do you mean? Pudding's face darkened. Beauty, how about this? Give me some face, this meal. I'll treat you and your friends. Drink a glass of wine with this boss, and this matter will be over. As he spoke, Brother Tao took a glass of beer from one of his men behind him. If it were an ordinary girl who was timid, she would definitely drink it. These gangsters like to show off and drink all the time. Moreover, this person also said that if he paid the bill, he could settle it with the owner after drinking. But who was Pudding? When she went out to do business, she usually didn't drink with big clients. Why would she drink with these hooligans in this shabby food stall? You fucker. Who are you talking to? Drink your fucking ass. Do you know who she is? Stupid cunt. Before Qin Guogua could get angry, Tang Tianjiao was the first to explode. Indeed, although Tang Tianjiao was usually very mischievous, he was especially protective. Seeing this group of hooligans forcing Pudding to drink with that idiot, how could he stand it? Little brat, my big brother is giving you face. He even paid the bill for you and helped you settle this matter. You actually scolded him. Do you not know what's good for you? The lackey behind Brother Tao immediately jumped out and started cursing at Tang Tianjiao. Do we need you to pay for your stupid bill? Don't we have money? A bunch of country bumpkins. Perhaps it was because Tang Tianjiao was too arrogant, so he swaggered and scolded this Brother Tao, making him lose face. Two people immediately rushed up from behind him and rushed towards Tang Tianjiao. However, before they could touch him, Gao Buiyuan and Qin Guogua knocked them down. Their speed was shocking. Whoa, little brother, not bad. You have some skills. What? Are you going to fight today? Seeing that they were going to fight, Brother Tao didn't want to drink anymore. He had drugged the drinks and wanted to knock them out one by one and put them on the bed. Now it seemed that he had to use force. Xiao Tuanchuan and Xiao Yuanyuan also stood up. No need to fight. It's too troublesome. I'll just kill you. These words came from Xiao Tuanchuan, meaty and domineering. Kill us? Sister, are you kidding? Brother Tao looked at Chao Tuanchuan with a lewd smile. Chapter 4880. Pudding didn't expect the situation to be so out of control. They actually started a fight over supper and forced the Chao sisters to kill someone. Opposite them was the owner of the food stall with 7 or 8 waiters, all with sticks in their hands. In addition to Brother Tao's dozen lackeys, there were more than 20 people inside and outside the group. If it were an ordinary person, they would have peed their pants. The onlookers thought that they were just a group of kids and had never seen such a scene. They should have just had a drink and reconciled, but they had to make a big deal out of it. But those people didn't expect that these kids weren't to be trifled with. They knew that the other party outnumbered them, but they still started a fight. Especially young Master Tang, who hadn't fought so happily in a long time. It was the first time he fought with so many brothers and sisters, and it was so satisfying. Pudding and Little Bean had learned taekwondo and martial arts since they were young. Although they didn't have much combat experience, they were good at fighting. Gao Buiyuan was also very good at fighting at the Public Security University. Tang Tianjiao loved to fight and was very resistant and had fast reflexes. Needless to say, the Chao sisters were simply perverted existences. Among the 12-year-old children in the world, no one was better than them. As for Qin Guogua, he was the one who challenged Chao Tuanchuan alone and won. So, what kind of little monsters did those people run into? Brother Tao made Pudding drink and completely angered everyone. Tang Tianjiao and Gao Buiyuan were the first to rush up. After all, they were men and naturally had to charge forward. Qin Guogua followed closely behind. Chao Yuanyuan pulled Little Bean and said, "You're not good at martial arts. Hide behind them, I'm a taekwondo champion. If you insult me like this, can we still have fun in the future?" Little Bean didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But she also knew that she was the weakest in this group. In order not to be a burden, she really hid behind them. But there was a reckless guy who saw that she was fat and easy to bully. He pounced on her, wanting to take advantage of her. But before he could touch Little Bean, Gao Buiyuan pulled his hair and threw him out. He fell from the sky and his spine was about to break. "Ha, Buiyuan, good job. I'll give you a thumbs up." Little Bean was very happy to see that. It was so good that her boyfriend was here. When they were fighting, Pudding even whispered to the Chao sisters not to kill them and to teach them a lesson. However, Chao Tuanchuan and Chao Yuanyuan were still extremely vicious. Although he didn't take the other party's life, as long as he hit a vital point, he would either break the other party's arm or sever the other party's tendons. The two sisters were holding very sharp daggers in their hands, and they would definitely injure people when they attacked. In just a short while, the group of burly men had already collapsed. Mournful wails could be heard everywhere, but none of them were injured. This group of little bastards. I didn't expect there to be 2 of them. Brother Tao, what should we do now? The stall owner looked at Brother Tao and felt his legs go soft. Unscrupulous profiteer, today I will pull out your tendons and peel off your skin. Chao Tuanchuan held the dagger, his eyes cold. According to her principles, this guy deserved to die and should not live. She walked towards the boss but was stopped by Pudding. "Forget it, Tuanchuan. We've had enough. We can't eat anymore. Let's go." Pudding didn't want to continue because it was almost dawn and she had important things to do tomorrow. Chao Tuanchuan listened to Pudding and was about to turn around. But she heard more footsteps. Chapter 4881. No one expected their reinforcements to come so quickly. Seeing that the situation wasn't looking good, Brother Tao secretly made a call. Then, he called over 30 people and brought real guns. Seeing the situation, the onlookers were scared away and didn't dare to continue watching. In an instant, only the 7 of them and dozens of people were left on the big food street. Fuck, you called for reinforcements because you can't beat us. Do you want to be arrogant? I look down on you. Tang Tianjiao stomped his feet in anger. What are you afraid of? If one comes, we'll kill one. If 2 come, we'll kill both. Xiao Yuanyuan took out a lollipop from somewhere and held it in her mouth with a smile. I wanted to solve your conflict out of kindness. I didn't expect you to be so ignorant. The one called Brother Tao touched his bald head and slowly opened his mouth in a cultured manner. Stop bullshitting. You're kind. You drugged the beer. Do you think we're blind? Little Bean said. The beer looked like an ordinary beer, but the color was darker than the beer. However, the color was a little darker than ordinary beer, and the taste was different. It exuded a faint fragrance. It was the smell of the drug. Little Bean was a medical student and the Chow sisters had a better sense of smell than ordinary people, so they knew there was something fishy in the beer. As for Pudding, although she wasn't as sharp, she was good at reading people's expressions. When Brother Tao appeared, she knew he didn't come with good intentions. So, no matter what, she wouldn't drink that beer. Tang Tianjiao was right. The people who forced her to drink in this world hadn't been born yet. Who do these gangsters think they are? After being exposed, Brother Tao became angry out of humiliation. If that's the case, then don't blame me for being rude. You broke so many things. Pay is small, but you have to apologize. Take all 7 of them back to the punishment hole. At Brother Tao's command, the 30 or so people behind him rushed forward. Just as Xiao Tuanchuan was about to make a move, he saw them raise their black muzzles. They didn't expect them to have guns. Especially the use of guns on such a large scale, which was banned in the country. Tang Tianjiao was dumbfounded and didn't know what to do. On the other hand, the others were very calm. They had no intention of being afraid at all. Little girl, this isn't a toy gun. Be careful of accidental fire. Brother Tao was extremely arrogant at this moment, thinking that he was going to win for sure. Qin Guogua, who hadn't spoken much, sighed slightly. Brat, why are you sighing? Guns are not allowed in the country at all, let alone on such a large scale. Your gun is naturally real, but it's the lowest grade air gun. It's the kind used to shoot birds, right? You used to poach, didn't you? Bold donkey. Qin Guogua's words amused everyone. On the other hand, Brother Tao's face alternated between green and white. He was clearly unable to get out of this situation. Indeed, although the 7 Stars gang had a little reputation in the local area, it was impossible for them to be so arrogant as to have so many illegal guns. Furthermore, he had swaggered out so openly. Wasn't he an idiot? Just this crime alone was enough to put them all in jail for 8 to 10 years. So what if it's an air gun? It's easy to kill you. Brat, if you don't want to die, shut up. Qin Guogua walked up with a smile. He walked up to one of the gangsters and pressed the muzzle against his chest. Why don't you try to shoot me and see what happens? In the darkness, Qin Yuyao's voice was exceptionally pleasant. At that moment, Pudding and Little Bean had an illusion that their little brother was more than 14 years old.
Chapter 4882. Seeing this, Qin Guogua's friends broke out in cold sweat. The elders of South Hill Manor were also shocked. It turned out that Xiao Tuanchuan and Xiao Yuanyuan always had trackers on them. It was implanted into their skin, so no matter where they were, Lu Yan and Xiao Fei would find them. Lu Yan had been paying attention to this since the beginning of the argument. She was so excited to watch the show that she called Qin Chu and Huamin over. The 4 of them sat in the study and watched the children's reactions to the outside world. When she saw the first fight, Lu Yan almost clapped her hands and cheered. Although it was called a fight, it was actually the 7 of them who were torturing the big guys one-sidedly. During this time, Huamin was worried and asked if they should go and save them. Lu Yan immediately denied it and said shamelessly that if the 7 of them couldn't even deal with these good-for-nothings, then they were good-for-nothings too. Indeed, she didn't know if she had confidence in others. But Lu Yan was very confident in her 2 little monsters. Xiao Tuanchuan and Xiao Yuanyuan were people who had truly been stained with blood. They had killed terrorists. How could they be scared by these small shrimps? Qin Chu put his arm around Huamin's shoulder and told her not to worry and to continue watching the children's performance. Lu Yan didn't intend to help the children when they were in danger. Instead, she asked her subordinates to stop the police officers who came to help. This made it more difficult for the children. It wasn't until Qin Guogua walked out calmly and put himself under the gun. Lu Yan gave him a thumbs up. As expected of my nephew, you're a real man. This kid. Won't he be in danger? Huamin felt like he was going to have a heart attack. Although he knew that his son's skills were extraordinary, if he were to point his gun directly at someone else's muzzle and it really went off, wouldn't he lose his life? Honey. What should we do? Let's go and help. Huamin was panicking again. Sis, don't worry. Look at your son's disdainful eyes. It means he doesn't take them seriously at all. Have some confidence in your son, okay? Lu Yan felt that her sister had become timid as she got older. Not to mention that there were still 7 of them, even if there were only Xiao Tuanchuan and Xiao Yuanyuan, they would be able to dye half the sky red with blood and kill her without leaving anything behind. I shouldn't have let them eat supper. Let's just come back and eat. Huamin regretted it. Lu Yan was the opposite. I think it's a good moment. If it weren't for this incident, I wouldn't have seen Pudding fight. She's so nimble in high heels. It's a pity that she's the president. She should have been a mercenary with me. After Lu Yan said that, she felt Mr. Qin's cold gaze and immediately shut her mouth, not daring to say another word.
Pudding was Qin Chu's beloved daughter and had been groomed to be a CEO. Brat, don't think that I won't shoot. Brother Tao was stunned and embarrassed. Indeed, he did not dare to shoot. Because as long as the gunshot was heard, the nature of the situation would change. The security in this city had always been good, and they were good at fighting gangs. If the police came, their good days would come to an end. So, he only wanted to use the gun to scare these kids, but he didn't expect to end up in a stalemate. Bald donkey. Believe it or not, you'll see the king of hell before you shoot. Xiao Yuanyuan took out her lollipop and licked it playfully. Chapter 4883. Little bitch, you're scaring me. Do you think I grew up being scared? Before Big Brother Tao could finish, a muffled sound came from behind him. Then, one of his men fell to the ground, his chest exploding. Since it was a small explosion, no one else was hurt. What? What's going on? The bald man was dumbfounded. I put sticky bombs on all of you. When I turn on the switch, they'll explode one by one. Of course, the drug won't kill you directly. But you'll be in the hospital for half a year, and you'll be disabled for the rest of your life. But I'm good to you, so I gave you a bigger dose than the others. If your bombs explode, not only will you die, but at least 3 of the people around you will die as well. Are you surprised? Xiao Yuanyuan looked at the bald man and said slowly. After she finished speaking, the people around the bald man immediately scattered, treating him as if he was a monster. You're lying. The bald man was still struggling for his life. If you don't believe me, let's try it. Xiao Yuanyuan took out a small black remote control. She pretended to press it, the bald man was so scared that he knelt on the ground and wet his pants. Yes, he was so scared that he peed his pants. Madam, don't. I haven't lived long enough. Spare me, Yuan, you're awesome. I like you. Little Bean felt so good. The two cousins of the Chow family were really monsters. They went out for supper and brought sticky bombs with them. They were so powerful. Chow Yuan, I want to be your disciple. You're so awesome. Tang Tianjiao was also impressed. It's just a small KS, it's nothing. My sister didn't do much. Chow Yuan was the opposite of Chow Tuanchuan, she was quite humble. This way, the bald man lost completely before the second scuffle. Seeing their boss kneel down and beg for mercy, the men didn't dare to point their guns at her. They immediately withered. Heroine, please let us go, I can let you go. Go, call your buddy, the owner of the food stall, Little Bean said. She had come up with another idea. At this time, Baldy's men brought over the stall owner who had been beaten black and blue. His legs were already trembling. Madam, I'm as blind as a bat. Please don't blow me up. The boss was completely cowardly. You and you. The two of you, come here and watch each other. Little Bean pointed at the bald man and the food stall owner. The two men were so scared that they didn't dare to get up. They were still kneeling straight. Then they looked at each other according to Little Bean's instructions. Closer, Little Bean said. Hearing Little Bean's words, the two of them moved closer. Come, give me a kiss. Let everyone see. Pudding, Qin Guogua, Gao Buiyuan was speechless. Sister Little Bean, what are you doing? Chow Yuan was speechless. Ha ha ha, I'm joking. I'm just trying to ease the tension. Little Bean couldn't stop laughing. She didn't dare to imagine the scene of the two men kissing. You two, listen to my command. I say 1, 2, 3, and then you two slap each other's mouths. Slap each other as hard as you can. If you don't use your full strength, I'll ask my cousin to activate the bomb. When the time comes, I'll blow you two into pieces. Chapter 48-84. Little Bean was a mischievous girl and always had many ideas to prank people. Therefore, he suggested that the two of them slap each other, and they had to slap each other with all their might. The others almost burst out laughing when they heard this. Although Big Brother Tao was extremely unwilling, he had no choice. He was especially afraid of the sticky bomb in the little girl's hand. He was so scared that he quickly reached out his hand to slap them. In just a short while, their faces were swollen and swollen. Only after they were done did they vent their anger. On the way back, Pudding accidentally cut her foot on broken glass. Although she kept saying that she was fine, everyone was still worried. They sent Pudding directly to South Side, and then she did a full body checkup. Little Bean bandaged her wound herself. After a while, the sky was completely clear. The seven of them had no intention of going home. Instead, they went to have breakfast. This time, Qin Guogua paid the bill. He didn't want to go down the same path and cause less trouble. Qin Guogua took everyone to a very high-end Cantonese morning tea shop. The breakfast cost 5,000 to 6,000 yuan, which was also a big deal. While eating, Pudding deliberately mischievously took a photo of her sister's bandaged foot. She posted it on her WeChat moments, went to eat supper and got into a fight. My sister is injured. Heartbroken. Not only did she post it on her WeChat moments, but she also took the opportunity when Pudding went to the bathroom. She asked Xiao Yuan to hack into Pudding's phone password. She also posted the same photo on Pudding's WeChat moments. She also deliberately wrote, I'm injured and have 3 days off. Don't disturb me. Don't look for acquaintances. This post was not a big deal, but the entire WeChat Moments was about to explode. The first to line up was the reaction of the elders. Chin Chu only sent one emoji, which was heartbroken. It was obvious how much he loved his daughter as a father. Huamin, Pudding, are you badly injured? Come back and let mommy take a look. Lu Yan, Pudding, you're injured. Wait for auntie to avenge you and kill those trash. Zhu Lingling, oh my god, my darling, how did you get injured? Gao Ran, is Pudding serious? Did you go to the hospital? Ji Xin, what happened to Pudding? What happened? Bella, Pudding, are you home? Jiang Xiaowei, what's wrong with Pudding? How did the little baby get hurt? Pudding was stunned by the number of replies. Her expression turned cold when she saw the post on her WeChat Moments. Who posted it on Moments? Little Bean immediately lowered her head, didn't say anything, and played dead. With Little Bean's IQ, she can't unlock my phone. Which one of you helped her? Pudding was smart enough to know that her dumb little sister wasn't that powerful. It must be some expert. He wondered if it was Buyuan, Guogua, or the Chow sisters. Chow Yuan gulped and pointed at Little Bean. Big sis, I didn't do it on purpose. Second sis asked me to undo it. Hey, Chow Yuan, how can you betray me so easily? Little Bean was furious. I'm afraid that big sister will be angry with me. Sis, I'm doing this for your own good. You'll be busy with your coming-of-age ceremony these few days. Why don't you take a break? Chin Mumu, if you dare touch my phone again, I'll chop off your dog paws. Pudding picked up her phone and deleted the post on her WeChat Moments. She didn't forget to post a new one. My sister was joking about my phone. Don't take it seriously. Inside the Wei family's private mansion, Wei Liao went to work early and went to the airport to pick up clients before dawn. Wei Yunchu and Jiang Xiaowei were at home. The maid had made an exquisite Chinese breakfast and the mother and son were eating porridge. Jiang Xiaowei showed her son the phone. Pudding got hurt last night. Wei Yunchu's hand that was holding the milk paused. Chapter 4885. He pretended to be calm and glanced at the photo. It was indeed Pudding's feet. Pudding's feet were white and slender. Her skin looked so tender. Pudding was fatter than her sister, so she wouldn't be so slender. He only took a look but didn't say anything. Son, aren't you worried? Jiang Xiaowei asked tentatively. Does my thoughts still matter? She won't care. With that, Wei Yunchu continued to drink his milk and lowered his head to eat his porridge. His silence made Jiang Xiaowei's heart ache. She knew that her son couldn't let it go. Otherwise, he wouldn't have traveled thousands of miles to come back to China to attend Pudding's coming-of-age ceremony. However, seeing Pudding injured, he was sad, but he couldn't comfort her. The child must be very sad. To comfort her son, Jiang Xiaowei said quietly. Son, I got someone to tell your fortune. It's that Master Wu, remember? Yes. Wei Yunchu looked up and listened to his mother seriously. I asked Master Wu about your fate with Pudding. Then, what did he say? Although he didn't believe in fortune-telling, that Master Wu seemed to be quite powerful. He heard that Uncle Chin Chu and Auntie Huamin admired him very much. Therefore, Wei Yunchu subconsciously started to get nervous, as if he was afraid that Master Wu's divination wasn't very good. Master Wu said that you and Pudding are fated. He told you to seize the opportunity. Don't miss it. Jiang Xiaowei also wanted to encourage her son. After all, she felt that her son was too quiet sometimes. He liked to keep everything to himself. The more he did this, the harder it was for misunderstandings to be resolved. I got it. Thank you, Mom. After breakfast, Jiang Xiaowei went to the Municipal Public Security Bureau to deal with some matters. Wei Yunchu drove to the Wei family's old mansion to visit his grandmother. On the way, he took out his phone from time to time. There were a few times when he wanted to call Pudding directly. He wanted to ask her how her injuries were, but he resisted the urge in the end. He still couldn't tell her that he was back. He was afraid of her coldness and indifference. He was afraid that Pudding wouldn't care whether he was back or not. In the end, Wei Yunchu resisted the urge to make a call and drove directly to the Wei family's old mansion. He did not expect to run into Tian Tian here. At first, Tian Tian was not liked, but as she grew older, she became more and more likable, especially the elders. She even learned some Huangmei opera and sang it for Grandma Wei. Wei Yunchu's grandmother was from Wannan and loved to listen to Huangmei opera. When Wei Yunchu arrived, Tian Tian had just finished singing and was eating fruits with the old lady. When she saw Wei Yunchu, she was so surprised that her jaw almost dropped. "Brother Yunchu. Why are you here?" Tian Tian was shocked. Wei Yunchu ignored her and looked directly at the old lady. "Grandma." "Yunchu. Is that Yunchu? Come here." The old lady stood up agitatedly and staggered towards her grandson. The old lady's health was not very good. 2 years ago, she had gone to America because she missed her grandson. When she came back, she fell seriously ill. Later on, because of her heart condition, she could not continue to take long-distance flights, so she missed her grandson very much. Now that he saw his grandson return to the country, he was very excited. "Grandma, are you feeling well?" Wei Yunchu took a few steps forward and supported the old lady. "Yes, yes, yes. Grandma is fine. Little Chui, go upstairs and call his grandfather down. Tell him that Yunchu is back." Chapter 4886. Cantonese morning tea. You guys should go home after breakfast. You must be sleepy after staying up all night. Pudding looked at the others. "What about you, sis?" Xiao Tuanchuan looked at Pudding. "I'll go to the company. I have something to do there." "You didn't sleep all night either. Go home and rest," Xiao Yuanyuan persuaded. "No, it's urgent. You guys should go home." Unable to persuade Pudding, the other 6 drove back to South Hill Manor after breakfast. Pudding went to GK headquarters directly. However, just as she was about to enter the company, the receptionist at the door said, "President Qin." President Qin said that if you come, you should go to the office directly. "Okay." Pudding nodded and took the elevator to the top floor. Inside the president's office, Pudding saw her father. Qin Chu was wearing a sapphire blue suit. He was old, but he was still extremely handsome. Qin Chu was probably the only person in the world who was as handsome as him. If there was anyone more handsome than him, it would probably be his son, Qin Yuyao. "Dad." Pudding's eyes softened at the sight of her father. "Sit down." Qin Chu waved his hand and flipped through the documents in his hand. Then, the door to the office was opened again and 2 private doctors walked in. "President Qin. Take a look at my daughter's foot. She's injured." Qin Chu pointed at Pudding and said. Dad, I'm fine. It's just a small injury." Pudding was a bit panicked. It was so early in the morning that her father called 2 private doctors. What was going on? "President Qin, let us take a look." Pudding raised her head and looked at the 2 private doctors of the group. She also felt that her father was making a big fuss over nothing. However, seeing her father's serious expression, she didn't dare to refuse in case he got angry. Pudding stretched out her foot and let the 2 doctors examine it. Qin Chu made a phone call. Pudding didn't know who he was calling. She only heard him say, "Bring them here and smash the store." It was only a few words, but Pudding had a feeling that it had something to do with her. She also saw her father's face had a hint of anger. She was so scared that she didn't dare to make a sound. 5 minutes later, "How's my daughter?" Chin Chu got up and walked over. CEO Chin Jr. is fine. He was just injured by the broken glass and was disinfected in time. With professional bandages, it will scab in 3 or 4 days. Don't you need to film? Chin Chu frowned slightly. Pudding, there's really no need for an X-ray, CEO Chin. Little CEO Chin's injuries are really minor. Chin Chu was silent for 3 seconds after hearing what the 2 private doctors said. Then, he nodded with a cold expression. That's all for now. After being tormented, the 2 private doctors quietly left the office. Only the father and daughter were left in the huge office. Pudding was a little scared. She had never seen her father so angry before. Especially because she thought, Chin Chu didn't say anything. He walked to the water dispenser and poured a cup of hot water for his daughter. Have you eaten something this morning? Yes. Pudding bit her lip. Did you sleep last night? Yes. Then go home and sleep later. I'll let your Uncle Yang handle your work. Dad, I'm sorry. Pudding lowered her head and apologized to Chin Chu seriously like a child who had done something wrong. Seeing his daughter like this, Chin Chu's heart instantly softened. Silly girl, why are you apologizing? Dad, I fought with my brothers and sisters last night and accidentally hurt myself. It's my fault for making you worry. Pudding was very obedient and also felt very guilty. She knew that she had indeed made her father worried. Chapter 48-87. There was another 5 seconds of silence. Chin Chu patted Pudding's head, just like he did when she was young. His voice was very gentle, the kind of gentle voice that only family members could hear. He said, I saw what happened last night. Pudding looked up in surprise. She couldn't believe it. Your aunt installed trackers and surveillance cameras on Tuan Tuan and Yuan Yuan. We saw the whole process. In order to train your adaptability and hands-on skills, she even stopped the police from rescuing you. You did well, but we didn't expect you to be injured in the end. I was careless, Pudding said. Dad will avenge you. I won't let go of the people who bullied you. Chin Chu hadn't cleaned up a mess for a long time, but this time, for his daughter, he really did it to the extreme. Those underlings of the mafia had always been sneaky and had done all sorts of heinous things. Therefore, Chin Chu ordered them to be caught before the police could catch them. Then, they would be brought to the wilderness and beaten half to death. That seafood stall was also smashed to smithereens. The stall owner's feet were covered in broken glass. This was the price for his daughter's injury. He didn't care what others said or how they looked at him. He only wanted to be a protective parent and a father who cared about his daughter. Dad, sorry to make you worry. I'm so useless, don't say that. You just need to rest well. Is tomorrow's coming-of-age ceremony okay? Why don't we postpone it for a few days? Chin Chu asked for her opinion. Pudding shook her head. No, Dad, I'm really fine. I'll be fine tomorrow. Okay, then you can go back first. I'll get the driver to send you. Okay. Pudding knew that she couldn't stay and continue working. Her father must be very worried and heartbroken. So, she obediently walked out of the office and went downstairs. She didn't expect to meet Liao Mukin in the lobby. He had just finished his vacation and was coming over to shoot a promotional video today. He walked face to face with Pudding. Seeing the gauze on her foot, his expression was a little complicated. Actually, he had seen the WeChat message yesterday. Pudding deleted it later. He knew that she must be injured. As expected, "Good morning, boss." "Good morning," Pudding replied politely. "Boss, your foot, Liao Mukin, mind your own business." Pudding shut him up with one sentence. "Aren't I worried about you? If you can't walk, I can carry you." "No need." "Then where are you going now? Shall I drive you?" Liao Mukin smiled brightly. "No need. Boss, tomorrow is your coming-of-age ceremony. My invitation." Liao Mukin was really not afraid of death. At this time, the boss was already in such a state, yet he still had the nerve to mention the invitation. He thought that he would be scolded badly again. To his surprise, Pudding agreed. She said, "I'll call Director Yang later and ask him to give you one. You can go and get it yourself." Liao Mukin was stunned for a moment. "What? You don't want to go?" Pudding stared at his face. "Think about it." "Thank you, boss." "This is the rhythm of the sun rising from the west," he muttered softly. As soon as she walked out of GK and saw Liao Mukin's face, she felt sad again. Looking at the blue sky, she asked in her heart, "Handsome Sue, do you see? I'm 18 years old. Tomorrow is Little Beans and my coming-of-age ceremony. If only you were still here, how great would that be?" Chapter 48-88. Chin Chu was furious that Pudding was injured, but he didn't show it in front of his daughter. However, the people who offended his daughter were all unlucky. She didn't even give face to Gao Ran. When Gao Ran's men went to arrest them, they found that they were all missing. At first, Gao Ran thought it was Lu Yan who did it, so he called Huamin to ask about it. Huamin put down the phone and went to ask Lu Yan. He went to the top of the mountain to practice boxing in front of the Chow sisters. Lu Yan sat alone on the balcony on the top floor, eating ice cream and basking in the sun. She was very relaxed. "Yan," Huamin called out softly. "Sis." Lu Yan turned around and when she saw it was her sister, her expression softened. "Why didn't you go up the mountain with Tuan Tuan and Yuan Yuan? When it comes to practicing martial arts, it's enough that there's trouble. There's no need for me to go personally." She smiled. "Yan, what happened last night, those people? Did you do it?" Huamin didn't want to beat around the bush with her sister and asked directly. "What do you mean by I did it?" Lu Yan was confused. "Gao Ran just called me and said that the people from the Municipal Public Security Bureau went to arrest them, but they didn't catch them. They disappeared mysteriously, and there are more than 30 people in total." Huamin's tone was calm, she didn't blame Lu Yan at all. After all, those scumbags deserve no sympathy. It really wasn't me this time. Those small fries couldn't even beat my daughter. Why would I do it? What a joke. But, if it wasn't me, I'm afraid there's only one person who could do it. Then, Lu Yan paused and looked at her sister. "Sis, why don't you ask your husband about it?" Huamin didn't look surprised at all, she had guessed it when Lu Yan denied it. The reason why Chin Chu was angry was obvious, his precious daughter was injured. Pudding's injury was caused by her accidentally stepping on broken glass. But if it weren't for those scumbags, Pudding wouldn't have hurt her foot while eating supper. Everyone knew that Chin Chu doted on his daughters. He even cared for his two sisters more than Chin Guogua. Most of these super tycoons raised their sons and daughters in poverty. The daughters could do anything, but the sons couldn't do anything. Fortunately, Chin Guogua wasn't jealous, and he was independent. He never cared about whether his sister was hurt more or if he was hurt more. In his world, they were all a family. As the two of them chatted, they heard footsteps approaching. Lu Yen and Huamin turned around and saw Pudding, who had just returned home. "Mom, Auntie. Pudding, is your foot okay?" Huamin knew that his daughter was injured, so he immediately looked at her foot. Pudding shook her head. "It's fine. I bandaged it at Southside and did a full body checkup. Dad even asked 2 private doctors to check it again at the company. See? I told you my brother-in-law was furious." This time, Lu Yan looked as if she had expected it. Huamin also agreed that this was Qin Chu's doing. "Is your dad angry?" Huamin asked his daughter. Pudding nodded. "He's a little angry. I haven't seen him like this in a long time. It's my fault. I made you guys worry." "It's not your fault." "But, Pudding, you didn't use your full strength during the fight last night. You were hiding your strength, weren't you?" Lu Yan smirked and pointed at Pudding. Chapter 48-89. Lu Yan saw the video from last night very clearly, including when Xiao Yuanyuan placed the sticky explosives on the enemies. In fact, Xiao Yuanyuan wasn't omnipotent. She didn't stick explosives on everyone. Brother Tao didn't have any on him at all, however, he was scared by Xiao Yuanyuan. In this aspect, Xiao Yuanyuan was very similar to how Lu Yan scared Ian back then. Their methods were the same, and they even said that there was no such thing as too much deception in war. Xiao Tuanchuan was really ruthless. Because she couldn't kill people, she directly broke the opponent's hand, leg, and spine. After that battle, the people who were hurt by Xiao Tuanchuan would probably be in a wheelchair for the rest of their lives even if they didn't die. Although Tang Tianjiao was the most active and caused the most trouble, his kung fu was actually the weakest here. It could only be considered a small fight. Qin Guoguo was quite good at keeping a low profile and not showing off, but his methods were extremely vicious. Little Bean almost didn't participate and was completely protected by everyone. After all, Gao Buiyuan, who was the best boyfriend, was there. Gao Buiyuan really protected Little Bean. He was never more than 3 meters away from her, afraid that she would get hurt. Lu Yan saw the love in his eyes clearly. As for Pudding, although she also participated in the battle, she didn't use her full strength. It could be said that she used less than 30% of her strength. She didn't use her real skills and was just going through the motions. So, when her auntie exposed her today, she immediately knew what was going on. "Auntie, I knew that my brothers and sisters were all powerful people. I didn't need to do anything. I wanted to give them a chance to show off." "You're so smart." Lu Yan chuckled. Pudding walked over and hugged Lu Yan's neck affectionately. Perhaps only in front of Lu Yan could Pudding be willful and impudent like a half-grown child. "Mom, I want to drink your Hong Kong-style milk tea." "Okay, your foot is injured. Don't walk too much. Be careful not to get it wet." Huamin was still worried about his daughter's injury and didn't forget to remind her before he left. "I'm fine, Mom, don't worry." After making up an excuse to send Huamin away, Lu Yan pinched Pudding's cheek before she could say anything. "Little brat, tell me, you purposely sent your mother away. What do you want to do now? Don't tell me you want to borrow money. Auntie, you're really thinking too much. Although I can't say that I have more money than you, but I have enough money to spend for a lifetime. I'm really not borrowing money. What are you doing? Lend me your weapon." "No, I'm not interested in weapons," Pudding said. "You're in love. Are you afraid your mom will scold you?" Lu Yan guessed. "I'm not." "Auntie, don't talk nonsense." Pudding finally realized that her auntie was the one who didn't know what to say. I'm not talking nonsense. Aren't you and that little artist under your company quite popular recently? There are reports from foreign media. They're really just my employees. Pudding continued to sweat. Lu Yan laughed so hard that tears almost came out of her eyes. She spoke nonsense so casually, but Pudding explained it so seriously that she was speechless. Auntie. Little Bean and I planned a big secret gift for my parents tomorrow, Pudding whispered into Lu Yan's ear. We're going to hold a wedding for them, Lu Yan said. Little Bean told you. Pudding was surprised to see her auntie so calm, thinking that Little Bean must have leaked the news. Little Bean didn't tell me. But when you mentioned the big gift for them, I immediately thought of a wedding. After all, they've been married for decades without a wedding. I don't understand such a weird thing. Chapter 4890. Although Lu Yan and Xiao Fei's wedding didn't cause a sensation all over the world, it was still a small event. It was carried out in a low-key manner, but the ceremony was still held. Qin Chu and Huamin went over directly from China. It was also their first time on Lu Yan's island. Professor Lu also arrived in time. Lu Yan was wearing a wedding dress and looked as beautiful as a fairy. All her subordinates partied on the island for 3 days and 3 nights, even someone like Huamian, who had great self-control, was dead drunk. She hugged Qin Chu and cried and laughed. Later, after Lu Yan and Xiao Fei's relationship with the Russians eased, the Russians suggested that they hold another wedding. Lu Yan didn't want to hold another one because she thought it was too troublesome. The wedding on the island was enough for her and Xiao Fei to remember for the rest of their lives. However, Lu Yan always felt sorry that her sister didn't wear a wedding dress. She had asked her sister about it, but Huamian didn't have an answer. He felt that a wedding was unnecessary and meaningless. Therefore, even though Qin Chu had wanted to hold one for a long time, he didn't want to force Huamin. Therefore, it was delayed until the children were 18 years old. Pudding and Little Bean's coming-of-age ceremony was planned by Qin Chu and Huamin. A lot of things were flown back from abroad. Even their dresses were pure Chinese. The Han Chinese dress was made of the best brocade, and it was handmade by the best tailor in China for 3 months. The sleeves and hem of the Han Chinese dress were embroidered with golden threads. It was extremely luxurious and gorgeous. Qin Chu and Huamin planned everything for their daughters, but they didn't know that the 2 children had long wanted to do something for their parents. Pudding and Little Bean secretly customized their parents' expensive gowns and wedding dresses according to their measurements. The wedding venue was also hidden under their decorations, so their parents wouldn't notice anything wrong. Since it was a surprise, they had to keep it a secret in advance. Pudding had specially chosen the wedding rings when she flew to Italy more than a month ago. Her father's ring was inlaid with a rare and precious black diamond. Her mother's ring was inlaid with a pink diamond. It was very girlish and dazzling. On the inside of the 2 rings, there were 4 small words engraved in the same font. It was written by Pudding herself, and then the craftsman matched the words one by one. The words were, Chu Mian's life. These were all done by the 2 children with their hearts. They really hoped that their parents could accompany each other until they grew old without any regrets. If I can't even guess that, how stupid am I? I wouldn't be able to live until now. Lu Yan chuckled. Auntie, do you think my parents will like it? Of course she will. Your mom will be so touched that she'll cry. Lu Yan could even imagine Huamian being touched and surprised by the news. Then you have to help us keep it a secret, Auntie. Pudding snickered. Of course, but... Pudding, forget it. It's okay. I just think, maybe you'll have a surprise at the coming-of-age ceremony, Lu Yan said meaningfully. Did Auntie prepare some good gifts for us? Pudding didn't think too much about it. She just thought that her aunt had prepared another thoughtful gift for them. I give you gifts every year. You two can't be surprised anymore. Then what is it? Nothing. Maybe you'll know when the time comes. Lu Yan didn't explain, and Pudding wasn't very curious, so she didn't ask. She didn't know that the surprise Lu Yan mentioned was Wei Yunchu's sudden appearance. Others didn't notice, but Wei Yunchu's return couldn't escape Lu Yan's eyes. The moment Wei Yunchu boarded the plane in the States, her subordinate sent back the news, so Lu Yan knew immediately. She couldn't interfere with her niece's sadomasochistic love affair, so she had to let the young people handle it themselves. Chapter 4891. Wei Family Mansion. Wei Yunchu stayed with his grandparents for a long time. After they took a nap, he went to the fountain in front of the mansion to get some fresh air. Yunchu. When Tian Tian saw Wei Yunchu leave, she immediately followed him. Her voice was purposely filled with a sweet charm. Wei Yunchu didn't say anything. He had always known Tiantian's true colors, even more so than Pudding and Little Bean. During the 5 years he had been abroad, he was well aware of Tiantian's debauchery abroad. However, he wasn't interested in anything about Tian Tian. He wouldn't tell others about her behind her back, nor would he care about her. He didn't think of her as someone who had nothing to do with him. Yunchu, why did you come back? Pudding hurt you once 5 years ago. You shouldn't give her a chance to hurt you again. It's none of your business. Wei Yunchu's tone was extremely cold. Yunchu, I'm doing this for your own good. You don't have to pretend to be pitiful in front of me. I'm not my aunt and uncle. I won't fall for it. Wei Yunchu exposed her without giving her any face. This made Tian Tian feel very awkward, or rather, she couldn't get out of the situation. Brother Yunchu, all these years, no matter how bad my character is, I've never hurt you. I know you don't like me, you think I'm trash, I'm not worthy of you, but Pudding isn't worthy of you either. In the 5 years you were gone, you kept yourself clean and only cared about your studies. What about her? Look at her in China, she's living a carefree life. As far as I know, a few days ago, Liao Mukin got into a drunken fight at night. In the middle of the night, Pudding personally drove to clean up the aftermath. She even sent Liao Mukin to the hospital and stayed with him until after midnight. Have you ever received such treatment? Shut up. He had to admit that Tiantian's words made Wei Yunchu's heart sour. He was jealous. Indeed, he and Pudding grew up together, but Pudding had never been particularly close to him. Sometimes, Wei Yunchu looked at Little Bean and Buiyuan with envy. Little Bean could show off her affection to Gao Buiyuan without any scruples. From time to time, she would pinch his face and pat his head. When she was angry, she would throw an iron fist. Pudding, on the other hand, was always high and mighty, never saying anything. No matter if she was happy or unhappy, sad or sad, her face was always as calm as water. Wei Yunchu was often confused. How was Pudding a Scorpio? She was clearly a Capricorn. There were too many things going on in his mind. His heart was already in turmoil, but on the surface, he was still calm. It was as if you could never stimulate her nerves. He didn't know if she really didn't care or if she just didn't want to talk about it. Tian Tian was delighted to see that Wei Yunchu was enraged. She took a few more steps forward and said, Brother Yunchu, Pudding really isn't the goddess you think she is. She's just a person. She's not otherworldly, and she's not selfless either. Do you know why she's so interested in Liao Mukin? He's not as good looking as you, and he's not as good as you in every way, but he can get her attention. Do you want to know why? Wei Yunchu remained silent. To be honest, he didn't really believe Pudding and Liao Mukin. He knew what kind of person Pudding was. Ever since they were young, they had known each other for so many years, but she had always been indifferent to him. This small-time artist had only been in the company for a few years. It was impossible for Pudding to fall in love with him at first sight. However, in the next second, Tiantian's words completely chilled Wei Yunchu's heart. Brother Yunchu, you probably don't know, but there's always been someone in Pudding's heart, and Liao Mukin looks very much like the person in Pudding's heart. Tian spoke with great emotion. She had indeed spent a long time finding out from Pudding's employees. She believed that this news would definitely stimulate Wei Yunchu. How did you know? Wei Yunchu turned around abruptly, his eyes cold. Chapter 4892. Seeing that she was on the right track, Tian was pumped up. She mustered up her courage and took 2 steps closer to Wei Yunchu. Then, she purposely said mysteriously, the entire GK knows about this. Yunchu, you really don't care about what's going on in China. My friend works there, and he said that even Pudding looks at Wei Yunchu differently than other people. How is it different? Although Wei Yunchu was still jealous and uncomfortable, he was also very curious. Why was this man different from others? Yunchu, come here. Let's sit down and talk. This is a long story. I'll make you a cup of coffee first. It wasn't easy for Tian to talk to Wei Yunchu, so how could she let go of this good opportunity? Therefore, she coaxed and lied to get a chance to talk to Wei Yunchu. Wei Yunchu didn't really listen to what Tian said, and he didn't even touch his coffee. He only focused on one thing, which was that Liao Mukin looked like the person in Pudding's heart. Wei Yunchu didn't care about Liao Mukin, but he cared about the person in Pudding's heart. His curiosity was suddenly piqued. He really wanted to know who the person in Pudding's heart was. What kind of person was so powerful that he could occupy Pudding's heart for so long? Holding his phone and looking at Liao Mukin's photo, Wei Yunchu was silent for a long time. South Hill Manor, Pudding was injured, so she didn't stay with her siblings. Instead, she lay quietly in her bedroom. She was extremely bored. She took out her phone and browsed the financial news. Then, she looked at the stocks and trends. Pudding was indeed a financial genius. She could make money by herself when she was very young. Now, she didn't rely on her father's company. She had her own venture capital company, which dealt in stocks, futures, foreign exchange, and so on. Suddenly, her WeChat rang. Pudding picked it up and glanced at it, slightly disappointed. For some reason, every time her phone rang, she hoped that it was from Wei Yunchu. Even a simple greeting would be good. Although they had blocked each other on WeChat, they could text each other. Liao Mukin, boss, are you busy? Pudding, yes. Liao Mukin, if you're busy, just give me 5 minutes, okay? Pudding, I said I'm busy. Shouldn't you say something like, then? Liao Mukin, haha, but I'm not an ordinary person, so I don't walk the normal path. Pudding, what is it? Tell me. Liao Mukin, there is indeed something very important. I have been thinking about it all day. Pudding, what's wrong? Do you want to jump ship? Liao Mukin, haha, boss, you really want someone to poach me? Aren't you afraid that I'll run away? Pudding, I'm not afraid. Just pay me 3 times the penalty. Liao Mukin, evil capitalist, I knew you wouldn't be so kind. So you're after the breach of contract. In order to prevent you from getting what you want, I'm not going to change jobs for the rest of my life. I'll retire at GK, okay? Pudding, what is it? Are you going to tell me or not? I don't have time to chat with you. Pudding felt that this guy was always joking, so she didn't want to talk nonsense with him. Bullshitting wasn't Pudding's style, but it suited Little Bean. Liao Mukin, boss, I just wanted to ask how your foot is. When you left the company this morning, I saw that you had trouble walking. Your injury must be quite serious, so I've been worried for the whole day. I wanted to ask you something. I have some medicinal wine given to me by a fan. That fan's family is an old Chinese doctor. Although I'm not a famous doctor, the folk remedies of quack doctors are sometimes really useful. I sprained my waist during rehearsals, but I recovered after a few days. There's still half a bottle left, and I was thinking of sending it to you later. Chapter 48-93. Liao Mukin was really afraid of rejection, so he said a bunch of words in one breath. Every time he typed, he sent the last sentence in a voice message. His tone was careful and gentle. It was obvious that he was really anxious and afraid that Pudding would reject him. After all, he was used to being rejected by Pudding. But after he said it, he regretted it. If Pudding rejected him coldly, then his behavior just now would be really bad. After he sent the voice message, Pudding was silent for a moment. Just when Liao Mukin thought it was hopeless, Pudding replied, "Then I'll send someone to get it." "No, I'll drive you there." "There are too many guests at home, it's not convenient," Pudding said. "Then I'll ask my agent to send it to you," Liao Mukin immediately added. "Okay, thank you." This was the first time Pudding was so polite to Liao Mukin. She didn't mock him or look at him coldly. He was so happy that he could fly. It was because the boss accepted his wine. "You're welcome. I'm actually quite surprised that you accepted it." "Ha. Anyway, I'll ask my agent to send it to you right away. Apply the medicine according to the method I sent you." I asked, "Even if it's not a sprain but a cut on the glass, it's still very effective. This medicine will heal the wound quickly and you won't be in so much pain." Putting away his usual cynicism, Liao Mukin was actually quite a good person. He wasn't a bad person, but he loved to play and was too playful. He always felt like a kid. Pudding was surprised that he had such a warm side. "Okay, I got it." Less than half an hour after they sent the message, Liao Mukin's agent came over. He brought the medicine to Pudding. Pudding applied some medicine according to his method and rested in the bedroom. She didn't know that at this moment, it was very lively outside. Hua Min, Qin Chu, Jiang Shaowei, Wei Liao, Gao Ran, Zhu Lingling, Enai Yang, Chen Jia, Ji Xin, Bella, Tang Chuan, Qin Ning, Lu Yan, and Qiao Fei. These 7 couples actually drank too much. Even Lu Yan, who was known to never get drunk, was a bit drunk. Then in high spirits, she put her arms around his neck and began to sing. "Outside Moscow at Night." That tune had gone all the way to the South Pole. Hua Min, on the other hand, was still listening attentively with his head tilted. Then, he took the lead in applauding. The scene was too horrible to look at. "Ha ha ha, God is indeed fair. Lu Yan has the beauty of a fairy, the skills of a special forces soldier, and a domineering temper, but she sings off-key, ha 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 ha." Tang Chuan wasn't afraid of death, so when the others didn't dare to laugh, he laughed wildly. When he laughed, the entire audience burst out laughing. Lu Yan was infuriated. Of course, she wasn't really infuriated. "Tang Big Mouth, you motherfucker. How dare you laugh at me? Do you believe that I'll blow you up right now?" Go ahead, go ahead. I don't believe that I'm the only one who's going to die with that bomb of yours. Once it's detonated, we'll all die together." Tang Chuan was also drunk and didn't know what to say. Qin Ning kicked his butt. "Don't talk nonsense. Don't jinx it. We can all live to 100 years old." Yeah, I can live to 1,000 years old." Ha! Tang Chuan was very proud. Zhu Lingling glanced at him faintly and said, "A 1,000-year tortoise, a 10,000-year tortoise." Her words made Huamin's stomach hurt. She leaned into Qin Chu's arms and laughed wildly. However, as she laughed, she started crying. It wasn't the kind of crying that would cause tears of laughter, it was the kind of crying that was very sad. Noticing that something was wrong, Qin Chu lowered his head and hugged Huamin. In a low voice, he asked her, "Mian, what's wrong?" "Qin Chu. I feel like I've forgotten someone important. This should be the happiest moment of my life, but what have I forgotten?" Huamin's voice trembled. Her mind was in a mess, as if something was about to come out. Chapter 48-94. Seeing Huamin cry like a dog, Qin Chu's heart ached. This fearless king was really afraid of Huamin crying. Huamin's tears were the weapon that Qin Chu was most afraid of in his life. So when he saw his wife crying so sadly, Qin Chu tightened his grip on Huamin's waist. "Honey, don't cry. Let's think about it slowly. I'll think about it with you. We'll definitely remember." At the same time, in the parallel world, Suyu woke up alone in the middle of the night. He sat in the star room on the top floor of his private villa and lay on the floor looking at the starry sky. He actually had insomnia miraculously, because when he just fell asleep, he had a dream. He dreamed of the scene in the nightmare world. He dreamed that he was captured by Zhao Qingya. Huamin came to save him with her big belly. Then, the two of them were locked in a small dark room in a sorry state. They experienced so many unforgettable things. He dreamed that Huamin was crying her heart out. He dreamed of the last time they met. In the nightmare, it was the last time he saw her. He also dreamed that he asked Fifth Master to ask her if there was a next life. He asked her to put away her pride and love him so much that she went crazy. Suyu had not dreamed of such a sad scene for a long time. In this parallel world, he had everything. He had family, friends, a wife, a daughter, and a company. But why did he still feel so sad when he thought of the things in that world? The door was gently pushed open. He turned his head and saw Huamin walking in a light pink nightgown. "Come here." Suyu beckoned her with his finger and smiled gently. Huamin walked over quietly and slowly lay down beside him. She was supposed to lie on the floor, but the moment her neck touched the ground, she rested her head on Suyu's thick arm. She smiled gently, reached out, and placed her hand on his waist. "Why are you here?" "I had a nightmare. I can't sleep." "What did you dream of?" She was curious. "I dreamt that I was kidnapped by bad people, and then you came to save me. You were pregnant. We went through a lot together," Suyu said seriously. As for those memories, although he had sealed them away, they were still so clear when he recalled them. It was as if everything had happened yesterday. "You sure are imaginative. You can even dream of such a melodramatic plot. I think you should quit being a boss and write novels instead," Suyu laughed. "With my writing skills, if I were to write a novel, you and Momo would be nothing. It doesn't matter. We're willing to follow you even if we have to eat dirt." In this world, Suyu and Huamin depended on each other for survival. From the time they were in love until they got married, they had never quarreled. The reason was simple. Suyu was always obedient to Huamin. Whatever she said was always right. Therefore, she also knew that Suyu was good to her. She used all her gentleness and tried her best to be good to Suyu. "Mian, yeah. If in this world, a man who is prettier than me, more capable than me, more mature than me, and likes you very much, would you still consider him?" Sometimes, Suyu quietly thought about it. He had to admit that Qin Chu was better than him. Chin Chu was tolerant and emotional. He was also very mature and wouldn't be as impulsive as him. Am I that kind of person in your heart? Hua Min was obviously unhappy. Don't be angry, I was just making an example. Seeing that Hua Min was unhappy, Suyu quickly tried to smooth things over. Hua Min thought about it and replied seriously, I don't think so. After all, I met you first. What if you met him first? Suyu asked again.
Chapter 4895. Hua Min remained silent. Suyu was extremely nervous. He regretted making things difficult for Hua Min and torturing himself. What if the answer wasn't what he wanted? How awkward would that be? After a moment of silence, Hua Min hugged Suyu tightly and answered word by word, no matter how good a man appears, I will always tell myself that my beloved husband will be waiting for me in the future. I will not be defeated by the temptation in front of me. After hearing this, Suyu's eyes instantly moistened. He turned over and pressed her under him. He just wanted to kiss her until the end of time. Daddy, Mommy, what are you doing? At the critical moment, the little princess woke up. Suyu and Hua Min were extremely embarrassed. The little princess was wearing the same parent-child nightgown as her mother. She had a pink headband on her head. Her voice was also childish. It turned out that the little girl was thirsty in the middle of the night and wanted to drink water. After shouting for a while, she got up on her own and realized that her daddy and mommy were gone. Then, little Momo, who had the courage, walked from room to room. Finally, she was caught by the two of them on the top floor. Oh my God, Momo, you climbed from the 3rd floor to the 5th floor by yourself. Oh my God, Hua Min found it unbelievable. He quickly got up and hugged his daughter tightly in his arms. Su Yimo, Suyu, and Hua Min's daughter, meant, meeting in the same boat. She had Suyu's good looks and Hua Min's high IQ. She had courage and wisdom that even children her age did not have. She was calm and magnanimous. She was the little princess of the Su family who was loved by everyone. She was Hua Min's treasure and Suyu's favorite. Suyu also stood up and took his daughter from Hua Min's arms. Momo, why did you come here alone? What else could I do? Do I have to bring my bodyguards? Suyu, Hua Min almost laughed out loud. You can call the auntie in the room next to you. Suyu was referring to the caretaker who took care of Momo Mo, which was the nanny. Doesn't auntie need to sleep? Do you think auntie is an omnipotent Superman just because she earns a small salary from our family? The little Su Yimo was very good at fighting against her daddy. Hua Min almost burst out laughing. Momo, how can you talk to daddy like that? Suyu pretended to be angry. But daddy said that no matter what Momo does, even if it's wrong, daddy will never blame Momo. The little guy's IQ was extremely high. It's over. I really dug a hole for myself. Suyu shook his head and smiled bitterly. But, what were you two doing just now? Su Yimo's attention returned to the moment when she opened the door. Daddy was dominating Mommy. That position was really not suitable for children. We were playing around, Suyu explained awkwardly. Don't lie to me. Why do I feel like you two are going to give me a younger brother or sister?
Little Momo said something shocking. Hua Min and Suyu were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped. Pfft. My daughter, who told you this? Suyu was impressed. I saw it on TV. In some TV shows, as long as uncle and auntie do this, auntie's belly will definitely get big, Suyimo said with a nose and eyes. Very good, Suyimo. You're not allowed to watch such TV shows in the future, Suyu ordered. If this continued, his daughter would not only mature prematurely, but she would also become a demon. Ahem, Momo, don't talk nonsense. Mommy and Daddy don't want to give you a younger brother or sister. Daddy loves Mommy a lot, so he kissed Mommy. Hua-min explained patiently. Then, the little guy pointed at Suyu with an aggrieved expression. You liar. Didn't you say that I'm the woman you love the most in the world? It seems that most men's words can't be trusted. Chapter 48-96. Suyu and Hua-min did not know whether to laugh or cry when they heard Su Yimo's words. She was such a young child, yet she was so jealous. Furthermore, she was competing with her mother for favor. How ridiculous. At that moment, Suyu felt like his heart was about to melt from her cuteness. He picked little Momo up and placed her on his stomach. Then, he explained in all seriousness, you're the woman Daddy loves the most in this world, but so is Mommy. Both of you are, and there shouldn't be any conflict, understand? Little Momo thought for a long time and nodded. The atmosphere that he had wanted to take the opportunity to be affectionate was completely ruined by his daughter. The family of three lay in the star room in the middle of the night, chatting and laughing. The emptiness in Suyu's heart was once again filled up. Yes, after coming to this world, he had everything. Everything that he did not dare to imagine before. So, what was there for him to be dissatisfied with? In another parallel world. Ever since Tang Tianjiao met the Qiao sisters, he did not go home. He ate and stayed at South Hill Manor and had a lot of fun. Especially when he liked to stick to Qiao Tuanchuan. Although she was fierce and would hit him from time to time. But he was still enjoying it. While Qiao Tuanchuan went to the bathroom, Tang Tianjiao walked to Qiao Yuanyuan. Hey, Yuanyuan, I heard you're a comic fan, right? Yes, I especially like Japanese cartoons. Naruto? Tang Tianjiao asked. Although it was a very old comic, it was remembered by many because it was a classic. Yes, I like Naruto the most. Qiao Yuanyuan nodded, holding the lollipop in her heart. Actually, she did not really like lollipops. It was just that when she ate lollipops, her mind would work faster and it was more convenient for her to think of some things. Although Qiao Tuanchuan was fierce, she was indeed a little inferior to her sister in terms of intelligence. She was the opposite of the Qin sisters. In the Qin family, the elder sister was smart, while the younger sister was silly. In the Qiao family, the elder sister was fierce, while the younger sister was resourceful. Then, who do you like the most in Naruto? Gaara, Qiao Yuanyuan said without hesitation. Haha, that's why I have a limited edition complete collection of Gaara's original works from Japan. Do you want it? In fact, Tang Tianjiao had already found out about Qiao Yuanyuan's preferences, but he still asked Little Bean. Little Bean was an expert at gossiping among the rich second-generation heirs. Basically, she could gossip about anyone. Therefore, after easily finding out Qiao Yuanyuan's preferences, Tang Tianjiao came over to curry favor with her. You're so kind. Qiao Yuanyuan looked at the comic and didn't take it immediately. Although she really liked it, her mother had told her that one who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. Tang Tianjiao didn't seem to be that generous, so he didn't know what he was planning. Of course. Take it. It's really for you. Don't tell me you've taken a liking to me, and you want to hit on me. Qiao Yuanyuan asked directly. Ugh. Tang Tianjiao was so shocked that he almost spat out blood. I say. Sister, can you not ask so directly? As a man, I'm embarrassed by your question. But don't worry, I've never taken a liking to you, and I don't want to hit on you. Actually, I want to ask you something. If you can tell me honestly, I'll be very happy. I see. Tell me. Let's see what I can answer. I'm taking your gift. Qiao Yuanyuan was very smart. Before she answered the question, she didn't take it. If she was in a difficult position and couldn't answer, wouldn't it be a slap in the face if she took it? Chapter 4897. Seeing Qiao Yuanyuan's reaction, Tang Tianzhao laughed. Don't worry. You can answer all my questions. They're all about daily life. Then, he picked up the manga and stuffed it into Qiao Yuanyuan's hands. He was really generous. Tang Tianzhao was also a Naruto fan. He had been to Japan many times and went on vacation with his parents. He desperately collected these rare comic books, including Naruto's, Sasuke's, and Gaara's. However, there must be a reason why he was willing to give it to Qiao Yuanyuan. Okay, ask away. Qiao Yuanyuan didn't waste time and went straight to the point. Your sister. What does she like to eat? Russian bread, Russian beer. German-style grilled sausages, and cheese. Oh right, she also likes cheese pizza. Then. What other hobbies does she have? Cold weapons, pistols, mini grenades, multifunctional bulletproof vests. Swiss Army. Before Qiao Yuanyuan could finish, Tang Tianzhao interrupted her. Okay. Next question. What kind of animals does she like? What kind of pets does she have? Tang Chuan especially liked dogs. When he was young, he had a golden retriever at home. It was super smart. When he grew up, Tang Tianzhao bought a few Alaskan dogs to keep the golden retriever company. The house was very lively. He thought that if Qiao Tuanchuan also liked small animals, he could give her one to make her happy. Cats were very popular nowadays. The short-haired cat was very popular, and it seemed like there was also the gray-haired Garfield. Small animals. Let me think. Does a jaguar count? My sister seems to like leopard prints. The gloves she wears in winter are all made by leopards. My grandfather asked someone to bring a jaguar back from abroad. My sister seems to like it very much and often plays with it. Ahem. Anything else? Tang Tianzhao's legs almost went soft when he heard the word jaguar. He couldn't imagine the scene of the 12-year-old Qiao Tuanchuan being intimate with a jaguar. It was too bloody and inhumane. Other things. King cobras seem okay. My sister likes cold-blooded animals. She had a king cobra when she was young. Later, it bit my sister's maid and was killed by her in a rage. Forget it, just pretend I didn't ask. Let's change the topic. What does your sister usually like to do? Sports. Mountain climbing. Or travel. Qiao Yuanyuan seriously considered for 3 seconds. Combat, explosives, wilderness survival, training in no man's land, and traversing snowy mountains. Oh right, he also likes to swim near a crocodile pond in our area. Young Master Tang's eyes widened as he stared at her in disbelief. His voice had also risen by a few decibels. What? Swimming near the crocodile pool, are there crocodiles? He asked. Qiao Yuanyuan rolled her eyes at him. Aren't you asking the obvious? If there were no crocodiles, would it be called crocodile pool? Then, is your sister Anne? Crocodile good friends? Young Master Tang asked with trepidation. Qiao Yuanyuan laughed so hard that she almost peed her pants. What are you thinking? Crocodiles are cold-blooded animals, and they are ferocious by nature. Humans cannot tame them. How can they be friends? Then isn't your sister afraid of being? Tang Tianzhao didn't finish his sentence. My sister has a sense of danger, so she swims very fast. In the crocodile pool, she trains her swimming speed. Your sister isn't training to swim, I think she's risking her life. Tang Tianjiao was speechless. So you're interested in my sister? Little snake Tang, do you want to pursue my sister? Qiao Yuan smiled mysteriously. Chapter 4898. Tang Tianjiao's name had a lot of history because Tang Tianjiao was a flood dragon. Old Master Tang named him after a flood dragon that entered the sea and would become rich in the future. However, the Qiao sisters felt that the flood dragon wasn't a dragon. At most, it was a little azure dragon, which was a snake. Therefore, they deliberately called him Tang Tianjiao. This name was very funny. At first, Tang Tianjiao was quite repulsed, but later, the Qiao sisters got used to it. It's not that. I just think Qiao Tuanchuan is quite interesting, huh? Tang Tianjiao scratched the back of his head and admitted it embarrassedly. You're the first boy who likes my sister in all these years. Your sister is so beautiful. Has no one liked her before? There used to be, but most of the boys who liked her were beaten up by her. Why? Tang Tianjiao's expression changed drastically. Because my sister likes to fight with her suitors. Once a week, how long do you think you can last? Qiao Yuan deliberately scared him. Hero, sorry for disturbing you. Goodbye. After saying that, Tang Tianjiao left as expected, running faster than anyone else. Qiao Yuan laughed hysterically. In fact, fate was really strange between people. Logically speaking, the second son of the Qiao family was actually cuter. However, Tang Tianjiao liked the hot-tempered eldest son, which was very similar to his father. He remembered that when Tang Chuan pursued Qin Ning, he suffered a lot. He even disregarded his reputation and took the initiative to become the Qiao family's son-in-law. The Tang family was so angry that they almost fainted. It was obvious that this kid had no bottom line in order to marry a wife. Now that Tang Tianjiao liked Qiao Tuanchuan, he started to act. In order to find out her interests and hobbies, he was willing to give Qiao Yuan his comics. This method of picking up girls was even better than his father's. At South Hill Manor's garden, Yang Meirong was already staggering, but she still liked to do some rough work. She was watering Huamin's garden with a watering can. Qin Yuyao followed beside Grandma and silently helped her. Yao, Grandma, how many days can you stay this time? I booked a ticket for next Monday, Qin Yuyao said. Next Monday? That's fast. There are only 3 or 4 days left. Yes, Grandma. I can't bear to part with you. You're only in your teens. I don't understand why your parents sent you so far away to study abroad. Can you get used to the food that foreigners eat? Yang Meirong felt very upset when she thought about how her grandson wanted to continue studying abroad. I'm used to it, Grandma. Then, before you leave, tell Grandma that I'll make some dumplings for you in advance. Bring them to eat on the plane. No need, Grandma. You don't have to do these. There are maids at home. Don't be too tired. How can it be the same as the one I personally made? After his grandmother finished speaking, Qin Yuyao felt that he was actually speechless. Old people always had their own waywardness. He reached out his hand and rubbed the tip of his nose. He didn't say anything else. Qin Guogua. Qin Guogua, a loud voice came from not far away. It was Little Bean. Only she would mischievously call her brother Qin Guogua. What is it? Come here for a moment, quick. Little Bean waved her hand mysteriously and called Qin Yuyao over. He had always thought that his second sister was a person who liked to play pranks, so he usually didn't pay much attention to her. Sis and I have arranged everything for tomorrow. When the time comes, Sis and I will sing a song for Daddy and Mommy. You can join us. I'm not singing, Qin Guoguo refused directly. Why? Little Bean glared at her little brother. Chapter 48:99. Because I think it's low, Qin Yuyao said. Fuck, you're getting hot-tempered. This is big sister's idea. After all, Mom and Dad are holding a make-up wedding. As their children, we have to give them something. You know how rich Mom and Dad are. They can get anything they want. It's meaningless for us to prepare gifts. That's why we want to sing a song. What song? Qin Yuyao asked. Where did all the time go? Sure enough what? Little Bean was dumbfounded. Sure enough, you two can sing this kind of old-fashioned song. I won't do it. Qin Guoguo looked disgusted. Fuck. What do you mean old-fashioned? This song has so much meaning. Daddy and Mommy will be so touched that they'll cry. If it's just for the effect of crying, why don't you two sing Onion? Qin Guoguo suggested. Before Little Bean could speak, he added, it's better to sing with 2 onions in your hands. It'll be more appropriate. Qin Guoguo, screw you, don't be so stubborn. My uncle is your uncle too. Look at your IQ. All these years, your weight has increased, but your IQ hasn't. I feel sorry for Buyuan. Fuck. You little bastard. How dare you laugh at me, watch your words. If you call me a little bastard, then what's Dad? An old bastard. Then, Qin Yuyao pretended to shout, Dad, come here. My second sister said you're. Before he could finish, Little Bean covered his mouth tightly. I really have to hand it to you. I don't need you to sing with me, okay? Little Bean was really defeated by Qin Guoguo. This guy was full of words and no one could beat him. Just because he thought singing together was too low, he came up with a bunch of nonsense. Okay, I won't interfere if you two want to sing. But don't blame me for not reminding you. Don't make it too awkward. You don't have to tell us that. We'll do it. Seriously. After glaring at her little brother, Little Bean left dejectedly. In the glass room outside the garden, Gao Ran was picked up by the driver because he was having a meeting in the hall. Gao Buiyuan and Zhu Lingling stayed behind. Zhu Lingling became younger and more beautiful. All these years, she had been living with Gao Ran. Although they were not as loving and happy as in idol dramas. However, she was already very satisfied because Gao Ran had never mistreated her and her son. Other than the fact that she was extremely busy as a police officer, she had everything she wanted. Gao Buiyuan had followed in his grandfather's and father's footsteps and was now a potential candidate for the police academy. He was tall and handsome. Zhu Lingling was very pleased. Son, do you want coffee? No, we'll be eating soon. Gao Buiyuan fiddled with his phone and secretly sent Wei Yunchu a WeChat message. Old Wei, are you really not coming back? This is her coming-of-age ceremony. Even if you two don't have a future together, we've been friends since we were kids. You shouldn't miss this. I think Pudding will be very happy to see you back and witness this important moment. Gao Buiyuan was Wei Yunchu's best friend even though he went abroad and had a falling out with Pudding. Even though Pudding broke up with Gao Buiyuan, he still kept in touch with him. In the past 5 years, Gao Buiyuan had been to Germany twice, both times during the summer vacation. Wei Yunchu warmly welcomed him and took him to Austria, Czech Republic, and other places. After a while, Wei Yunchu replied. He didn't answer Gao Buiyuan's question directly. Instead, he asked him, after the coming-of-age ceremony, you and Little Bean will be engaged, right? Chapter 4900. Originally, getting engaged was a good thing, but for some reason, after reading Wei Yunchu's reply, Gao Buiyuan only felt his heart ache and he felt very uncomfortable. Once upon a time, he thought that he and Little Bean, Wei Yunchu, and Pudding, these two pairs of children who grew up together, would definitely be together and have their wedding on the same day. However, as he slowly grew up, he realized that feelings were the most uncontrollable. Perhaps it was because of his personality, but Gao Buiyuan was thick-skinned. He didn't care how Little Bean bullied him. And Little Bean was such a simple-minded girl, so there was basically no barrier between the two of them. She would say whatever she wanted to say. Even if they quarreled, she would take the phone and shout out her dissatisfaction to let the other party know. Wei Yunchu and Pudding were the exact opposite. Wei Yunchu didn't like to talk. He was a very cold and silent boy. Pudding's inner thoughts were overflowing. Just like her father, she always looked calm on the surface. If one didn't know better, they would think that she really didn't care about anything. There were some things that I wouldn't understand if you didn't tell me. This was distance. The further they got, the more distant they became. Although Gao Buiyuan didn't know the exact reason for that incident back then, he didn't know who Pudding was in her heart. He vaguely felt that Little Bean knew the truth, but he didn't ask. This was because he knew Little Bean's temper very well. If she could tell him, she would have told him long ago. Since she didn't say it, it meant that there was something that couldn't be said. Perhaps it was a wound in the sisters' hearts that couldn't be touched. Therefore, when Pudding and Wei Yunchu separated, he was really sad for them for a long time. He always felt that it was a pity. Now that Wei Yunchu asked him about the engagement with envy, how could he bear to show off his love in front of his good brother? Therefore, he only answered vaguely, "I haven't done my research yet. Uncle Chin Chu and my dad have the final say. I don't care about these things." "Uncle Chin Chu and Auntie Huamin, how are they?" Wei Yunchu asked. "Yes, very good. One is still so handsome, and the other is still so magnanimous." "What about Auntie Ling?" "There's no need to worry about my mother. The older she gets, the more she likes to show off. The last few times she came back, she asked me to accompany her shopping. The clothes she bought were all colorful, like a peacock spreading its tail." Wei Yunchu sent a smiley face. He must have been amused by Gao Buiyuan's words. "Bro, think about it again. Your family also has a private jet. If you decide to come back now, everything is still not too late. You will definitely be able to make it before the big ceremony tomorrow afternoon." Gao Buiyuan still hoped that Wei Yunchu would come back and fight for it. After all, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Most importantly, none of these elders didn't want Wei Yunchu and Pudding to be together. "Okay, I'll continue working. Talk to you later." She still didn't answer Gao Buiyuan directly. This time, she didn't want to surprise Pudding. It was just that after Tiantian's words that day, Wei Yunchu was a little scared. He changed his mind and didn't want to see Pudding. Or rather, he would appear at the coming-of-age ceremony, but he would only watch her silently from the corner of the crowd, not wanting to be discovered by her. It was because Wei Yunchu's pride didn't allow him to lose to someone who had been in Pudding's heart for many years. Of course, he wouldn't completely believe Tiantian's words, so he secretly did some research. In the end, he really did find some clues about Pudding and Liao Mukin. He wasn't afraid of his love rival or losing to Liao Mukin. What was scary was that Liao Mukin looked like the person in Pudding's heart. Chapter 4901. Time passed quickly, and the day of the coming-of-age ceremony finally arrived. Starting at 5 a.m., the whole South Hill Manor was busy and joyful. The whole South Hill Manor was decorated with Chinese costumes and luxurious gold, silver, and jewelry. Even the dining plates were replaced with gold. The expenditure was so enormous. At 6 a.m., Pudding and Little Bean got up and tried on the gowns. The hand-sewn Chinese gowns were bright red and looked stunning. The sisters wore phoenix coronets on their heads and luxurious Han Chinese costumes. At that moment, they looked like the coronation ceremony in ancient times. Lu Yan and Huamin helped them with everything. Lu Yan even joked, "My nieces. They look like the Empress." No, no, no. Even the Empress isn't as beautiful as you two. Pudding pursed her lips. If we were in the harem, with my sister's IQ, she wouldn't survive more than 1.5 episodes. Nonsense. I can survive at least 2 episodes. Little Bean defended herself. Everyone burst into laughter. Yeah. It said that there are 2 sisters in the Han Palace, Zhao Fian and Zhao Hede. They're extremely beautiful and are loved by the Emperor, Zhu Lingling said. Jiang Shaowei chuckled. They're 2 women serving the same husband. It's different from our family. Don't talk nonsense. Little Bean began to argue. My mother-in-law wants my sister to marry Buyuan. Ha ha ha. Shut up. I'll beat you to death. Pudding gave Little Bean a dirty look. In your dreams. It's good enough for you to have one. You want to. Besides, with Buyuan's personality, he'll be bullied to death if he marries too. Huamin chimed in. At this moment, the security guard at the door rushed in and reported, Madam. What's up? A delivery man is at the door. He says there's a package for you and wants you to sign for it. My package? What's so early? Huamin glanced at his watch and saw it wasn't even 6:30 a.m. Don't express deliveries start at 8 o'clock? This is too strange, something's wrong. Sis, don't go. I'll go for you, Lu Yen said. No, that person said that as long as Madam goes personally, the item will not be given. It seems like he knows Madam. The security guard said. Really? Huamin raised his eyebrows. Mom, did you buy something urgent? Pudding turned around and asked Huamin. No. We've already prepared everything. I don't think there will be any deliveries. Huamin was also confused. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember when she had bought the express delivery. Let's go, sis. I'll go with you. Don't be afraid. If he tries anything funny, I'll kill him on the spot. Lu Yan had always been bold. Sensing something was wrong, she wouldn't let her sister go alone. Yes, let's go and take a look. Huamin put down the hairpin in his hand and handed it to Jiang Shaowei and Zhu Lingling. With Lu Yan, the 2 sisters walked to the gate. At 6:30 a.m., the sky was already bright. From afar, they saw a figure standing at the gate. He was wearing a yellow vest, the uniform of a delivery man. Huamin was a bit worried. He didn't want anything to happen on such a good day. After all, it was an important day for the children. As Lu Yan walked, she touched the gun on her waist. She pulled out the gun quickly. If the person was a bit strange, she would immediately pull out the gun and kill him. She was very vigilant. When they got closer, they saw that the person's back was facing them. Hello, I'm Huamin. I'm here to sign for my package. Huamin said politely. The person suddenly turned around. When the 2 sisters saw who it was, they froze. Lu Yan even forgot to pull out her gun. Chapter 4902. Stupid girl. You still want to pull out your gun. Are you going to kill me? That familiar voice sounded. Lu Yan and Huamin both had tears in their eyes. The two of them called out in unison, "Dad." It turned out that Professor Lu was here. Damn it. Old man, what are you doing? Why didn't you tell me you were coming? I almost thought you were a terrorist. I'm just trying to confuse the public, that's why I disguised myself like this. So, where's my delivery, Dad? Huamin wiped his tears and asked with a smile. Isn't the delivery me? I'm a living person. Huamin was surprised and happy that Professor Lu had learned how to joke. The two of them led Professor Lu inside. Huamin and Lu Yan held the professor's hands, one on each side. Hearing that Professor Lu was here, Qin Chu and Xiao Fei hurried over as well. Dad. Dad. Everyone's here this time. I'm very happy to see you all, Professor Lu said with relief. Dad, you just got off the plane. You must be tired. Take a rest and eat something. No, I want to see the children first. Professor Lu had been thinking about his grandchildren for a long time. His heart was about to grow grass. Huamin and Lu Yan were no longer favored. Now, it was Chow Chow, Moo Moo, Tuan Tuan, Yuan Yuan, and Guogua who were favored. Then, Professor Lu followed everyone to the living room. At this time, Pudding and Little Bean had changed into their traditional Chinese outfits and were looking at themselves in the mirror. The other children were next to them. Look, who's here? Lu Yan clapped her hands and reminded everyone. The children looked over at the same time. 3 seconds later, they screamed like pigs being slaughtered. Little Bean was the first to rush over and gave her grandpa a bear hug. Oh my God. I'm not dreaming, right? Grandpa, you're really here. You seem to have put on weight again, Little Bean. It's such a happy day, don't mention it. Professor Lu smiled and patted Little Bean's head. Then, he looked around at the other children. Grandpa. Xiao Tuanchuan was as calm as ever. Hello, Grandpa. Qin Guogua had always been very polite. Grandfather. Pudding's smoke rings were a little red. It was a pleasant surprise so early in the morning. She really couldn't describe her feelings. How long has it been since we last met? You've already grown so big. Looks like Grandpa is really getting old. Professor Lu sighed. Grandpa, come. Let's take a family photo. Come. Little Bean loved taking photos. Seeing that everyone was here, she immediately suggested taking a family photo. Lu Yan's expression changed slightly. She knew her father had a special identity and didn't like to take photos or leave any traces. So she looked at her father and asked, Dad, can I? Sure. For the first time, the professor actually agreed. This really made the children very happy. Huamin was also very happy. Jiang Xiaowei and Zhu Lingling took out their phones and took pictures in front of them. Then, the family found their seats. Professor Lu sat in the middle of the chair. On his left was Huamin, followed by Qin Chu. In front of him were Qin Zhao Zhao and Qin Mu Mu. Next to Qin Chu was Qin Yuyao. Standing on Professor Lu's right was Lu Yan and Xiao Fei. In front of the couple were Xiao Tuanchuan and Xiao Yuanyuan. This was a family portrait in the truest sense. Everyone's face was brimming with relaxed smiles. Come, say it with me, eggplant, Zhu Lingling yelled. Chapter 4903. Professor Lu's arrival brought a happy ending to this big family. Lu Yan and Huamin couldn't get in touch with the professor and thought their dad wasn't coming. After all, his identity and whereabouts were a lot of secrets that couldn't be revealed. After the nightmare, no one mentioned the thing in the professor's hand. At that time, before he lost his memory, Grandpa Su had taken action to eliminate the mastermind. He was Sing Ro's mysterious boss. Later, Siu disappeared from people's memories, so they didn't remember this part. The two daughters didn't know what the thing in the professor's hand was or where it was. After taking photos, the twins continued to put on makeup. Huamin and Lu Yan took the professor to the guest room on the top floor to rest. "Dad, how long can you stay this time?" "I'll leave tonight." "So soon?" Huamin was reluctant to leave. Lu Yan suddenly thought of something and asked, "Dad, there will be a big ceremony at noon today, and there will be a lot of people watching. Although my men will be there, I can't guarantee that there won't be any mistakes. I'm afraid that someone will target you. Do you want to leave?" "No need to leave. I'll disguise myself," the professor said. "Oh, how could I forget about that?" "Ha! Right, disguise yourself. But Dad, do you want to disguise yourself as Tom Cruise?" "We'll all be happy," Lu Yan teased. "I'll disguise myself as Van Diesel." Professor Lu gave Lu Yan a dirty look. "No. Uncle Fan doesn't have hair." "You have hair." Huamin was amused by the conversation between Lu Yan and her dad. "Dad, did you bring all the disguises?" Huamin was worried. "I brought them. Don't worry about Dad." "Sis, Dad might have a bomb in his suitcase." Lu Yan chuckled. "You two go out. I'm going to sleep. I didn't sleep last night because of the flight." Huamin looked at his father tenderly. "Okay, Dad. When you're done sleeping, you can go out for a walk. The kids miss you." After walking out of the door, Huamin remembered that he still had something to ask his father, so he turned around to go back. "Hey, what are you doing?" "Sis. I have a difficult medical question to ask Dad." "Why are you troubling Dad about this?" "You can ask my Yuan Yuan." "Your Yuan Yuan? Can it work?" Huamin was skeptical. "Why don't you ask?" Lu Yan smiled mysteriously. Xiao Yuanyuan's medical skills were the best in her generation. When she was 12 years old, she was already comparable to Huamin. It seemed that his genes were really powerful. Therefore, when Huamin asked Xiao Yuanyuan to solve the problem, he actually got the solution. Xiao Yuanyuan was too young and couldn't be away from Lu Yan for too long. Huamin really wanted to keep this child here. She would definitely be a miracle doctor at Southside in the future. However, the fate of the Chow family's children seemed to be predestined. They were destined to be different from Pudding and Little Bean. Lu Yan knew this, and Huamin knew it even more. After taking the photos, Jiang Xiaowei used her free time to look at the photos on her phone. When she took the photos, she took a few close-up shots of Pudding. She had to admit that the 18-year-old girl's skin was really good. It was full of collagen. Even if she didn't use any concealer, her skin was still as white as crystal. Jiang Xiaowei picked a photo of Pudding wearing a traditional Chinese costume and a phoenix coronet, smiling slightly, and sent it to her son, Wei Yunchu, on WeChat. She didn't know if it was encouragement or to satisfy her son's longing. Chapter 4904. Wei Yunchu also looked at the photo for a long time. This was probably the clearest photo he had ever seen, because Jiang Xiaowei had selfishly zoomed in. Therefore, Pudding's face and facial features were very clear. With ancient makeup, she had the grace of a classical beauty. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Jiang Xiaowei was so anxious that she was about to make a call. Wei Yunchu slowly replied, "She's very beautiful." "Of course. Pudding has been beautiful since she was a child." That's Chin Chu's excellent genes. Son, what time are you coming? What time does the grand ceremony start? Wei Yunchu asked. I heard from Mian that it's 11:18. Okay, I got it. As expected, he was a man of few words, as if saying one more word was a sin. Even with his own mother, Wei Yunchu was still a man of few words. More and more guests arrived at South Hill Manor at 8 p.m. Although they didn't invite too many outsiders, some business partners, relatives, and friends were still invited. Some well-known media outlets that had a good relationship with GK were also invited to watch the ceremony. As public figures, many leaders of the municipal government came. Gao Ran was now a senior official, so naturally, he had to sit with his colleagues. His every word and action attracted attention. Liao Mukin and Han Yueyao were the only artists invited. They walked in hand as if they were walking down the red carpet. Liao Mukin was wearing a suit and looked very rich. Han Yueyao was wearing a sky blue evening gown and looked very beautiful. As soon as they walked in, they were surrounded by the media. Liao Mukin, tell us how you feel today. I'm really happy for my boss. She's finally an adult. I finally don't have to listen to a minor anymore. One word, great. Liao Mukin had always been a humorous person, so his answer immediately made many people laugh. Miss Han, where are your agent and assistant today? Rumor has it that you're planning to buy a house and live together, right? Today is President Qin's big day. Please don't pay too much attention to my personal matters. Thank you. It was obvious that Han Yueyao didn't want to talk about her private life and didn't want to steal the limelight from the host, so she only said a few words. After Liao Mukin came in, he couldn't sit still and wandered around. In fact, he wanted to see Pudding's appearance after her makeup was done. He was really looking forward to it when he heard that she would be wearing a traditional Chinese costume today. In the past few years, Pudding had attended almost all of the company's events, but she didn't put on too much makeup. Even if she didn't wear any makeup, she was still able to outshine many female stars. So Liao Mukin was curious. What would Pudding look like with heavy makeup? Would she tease him to the point that his little heart would pound non-stop? Unexpectedly, as he walked, he bumped into Huamin. Huamin forgot to put on the jade pendants for Pudding and Little Bean's dresses. So, she went to the safe and took out the expensive gift Lu Yan had given her for her birthday. She wanted to rush to the dressing room, but she didn't expect to bump into someone on the way. Liao Mukin quickly reached out and helped Huamin up from the grass. I'm sorry, he apologized immediately. It's okay. Huamin wasn't a delicate person, so he stood up immediately. When he looked up, Liao Mukin was shocked. Mrs. President. I'm sorry. I really didn't mean it. Seeing that it was the president's wife, Liao Mukin was scared half to death. He was still fantasizing that if he could win Pudding's heart, she would be his future mother-in-law. She was someone he couldn't defend no matter what. Seeing this familiar face again, Huamin was in a daze again. He felt that he was an old friend of his, but who was he? Why couldn't he remember? Chapter 4905. Hello, Mrs. President. I'm Liao Mukin. The boy's self-introduction brought Huamian back to reality and reminded her of something. You're the artist from the company, right? Yes, Mrs. President. Okay, you can walk around. I'll go deliver something to Pudding. Okay, take care. Liao Mukin nodded respectfully and sent Huamin away. After all, it was just a small brush with his shoulder. However, Huamin's mind was in a mess. She felt that the kid was someone she knew very well. However, he was only in his 20s. He didn't look like a friend of hers. But what did she forget? Hua Mion's mind wandered as the intense feeling washed over her. In the dressing room, only Pudding and Little Bean were left. "Sis, is something on your mind?" Little Bean asked when she saw that Pudding was distracted. Pudding bit her lip and didn't answer. "Are you thinking about Wei Yunchu? Don't try to figure out what's on my mind, okay?" Pudding was a little annoyed that her thoughts were seen through. "Sis, don't pretend. Don't forget that we're twins and have telepathy. When you're worried, I'm worried too. It's almost 11 p.m. If there's no news from Wei Yunchu at this time, he probably won't come back. I've asked Wei Yuan and Auntie Xiaowei, but they haven't heard anything. I don't want him to come back. You're thinking too much." As they spoke, Hua Min pushed the door open and walked in. "Here, put on the jade pendants." Hua Min took out 2 jade pendants and handed them to the sisters. "Pudding, I just saw someone," Hua Min said. Pudding looked up and glanced at her mother, knowing that she had something else to say. "He said he's an artist under your company. His name is something like Chin, Liao Mukin." Pudding was surprised. Little Bean's expression was even more terrible. "Yes, I keep feeling that he looks very familiar, like someone I know, but I just can't remember who he is. Do you two have any impression of him?" Hua Min tilted his head as he thought hard. "Can you help me think? Do I have any friends who look similar to that kid?" Pudding and Little Bean looked at each other, and their expressions became complicated. Little Bean hurriedly hung up the jade pendant, got up, and held Hua Min's arm. "Mom, you're thinking too much. Other than being a little handsome, there's nothing special about that kid. But his personality is too exaggerated. You'd better not get too close to him. He's a very polite kid." Hua Min stood up for him when Little Bean belittled the kid. "Mom, he just has a celebrity face. You might have seen him on TV before, so you have some impression of him." "No, I have a feeling that things aren't that simple." Hua Min denied immediately. He felt that both Pudding and Little Bean were wrong. Things weren't that simple. Over the years, her sixth sense had always been very strong. Just like last time, when she saw that kid, her sixth sense began to vibrate intensely. It definitely wasn't as simple as seeing a familiar face on TV. Hua Min suddenly had a scary thought. Could it be that everyone was hiding something from her? Or, did Pudding, Little Bean, and her husband know? Was she the only one who didn't know? The moment this thought popped up, it was really scary. Hua Min felt that the people she loved most wouldn't lie to her, especially Chin Chu. "Mom, have you not been resting well recently? Organizing our coming-of-age ceremony is too stressful. After it's over, you can ask Auntie Xiaowei to prescribe some medicine for you to recuperate." Little Bean deliberately changed the topic. Chapter 4906. Hua Min nodded. "That might be the case. Go back to touching up your makeup. When it's time, you'll go on stage. Do your best." Hua Min patted her daughter's shoulders and left the dressing room. Little Bean's words reminded her of something. She really should ask Jiang Xiaowei to take a look. However, it wasn't medicine. Jiang Xiaowei was a famous psychiatrist in China. Other than helping people with their mental illnesses, she also had another skill, which was hypnosis. It was said that hypnosis could awaken something deep in a person's heart, including things that they had forgotten for a long time. Therefore, Hua Min thought that after the coming-of-age ceremony, she should ask Jiang Xiaowei for a private hypnosis session. She wanted to see if she could find any clues. She wanted to see what was going on with that boy's familiar face. 11:15 p.m. The MC came on stage to liven up the atmosphere. At this time, the lawn in front of South Hill Manor was filled with 7. 800 people. This MC was invited from Jing City. It was said that he was a famous MC and was a top student at Jing City University. A tall, thin, and handsome boy. His words were humorous and witty. Everyone's appetite was piqued right from the start. When the auspicious time arrived, he recited an ancient poem before Pudding and Little Bean went on stage. It was accompanied by the dance of the palace maids in ancient costumes and classical music. A beautiful voice slowly sounded. Delicate clouds playing tricks, flying stars passing hatred, the silver river crossing in secret. Golden wind and jade dew meeting, surpass countless things in the world. Tender as water, the auspicious days are like a dream. Enduring the Magpie Bridge and returning home. If two people love each other for a long time, how can they be together day and night? Coincidentally, the author of this poem also had the surname Qin. Speaking of which, he might be an ancestor of the Qin family. After reciting the poem, the MC shouted in an impassioned voice, "Next, let us give our warmest applause to today's two protagonists, Qin Zhaozhao and Miss Qin Mumu." Classical music started playing. Pudding and Little Bean slowly walked out from the backstage with the help of 4 maidservants dressed as maids. Then, they carefully walked up the stairs. At the back of the crowd, a boy wearing a black baseball cap stood there, looking at Pudding with tender eyes. Wei Yunchu sneaked in just like that. Jiang Xiaowei helped him get the invitation. What Wei Liao didn't know was that Wei Liao was sitting in the first row with Rick, Tang Chuan, and Ni Yang. Pudding and Little Bean followed the Han dynasty's rite of passage, one after another. He bowed deeply to his parents and elders, thanking them for their kindness in raising him. Then, the host said softly, "The rest of the time is reserved for the 2 leads." They seemed to have something to say to the guests. "Sis, do you want to go first?" Little Bean asked Pudding in a low voice. "You first," Pudding said calmly. Little Bean happily took the microphone and spoke from the bottom of her heart. She had written the lines in advance and had memorized them by heart. Pudding's eyes, however, seemed to be drifting. When she looked down the stage just now, it was just a casual glance, but she seemed to have seen someone. Yes, that person was at the back of the crowd. He was wearing an inconspicuous black suit and a hat. However, that feeling was irreplaceable. Pudding thought that she was seeing things, so she took a few more glances. However, when she looked again, the person was gone. "Sis, it's your turn," Little Bean reminded her quietly. However, Pudding was still looking for that familiar figure. "Sis, it's your turn to speak." Little Bean stuffed the microphone into Pudding's hand and reminded her, bringing her back to reality. Chapter 4907. Oh, okay. Pudding came back to her senses and picked up the microphone. Below the stage, Huamin, who was sitting in the first row, was a little worried. "Honey, did you notice that Pudding was distracted?" "Yeah, she rarely does that on important occasions." Qin Chu also saw it. "What should we do?" Huamin clenched his fists worriedly. "I'll ask her when she finishes her speech and gets off the stage." Qin Chu wrapped his big hand around his wife's to give her a sense of security. "I'm so happy that everyone can come to my and my sister's coming-of-age ceremony. Thank you for being here to witness this important moment of us becoming adults. Thank you for all the years of hard work that my parents have put into raising us. Thank you for your care and concern, my friends. I'm so happy that I can stand here and say this to everyone. Next, I have 2 important announcements to make." After saying this, Pudding took a deep breath. Little Bean looked at her sister in confusion. Didn't she say that there was only 1 announcement? Her parents were holding a make-up wedding today. Why did her sister suddenly change her words to 2? Everyone seemed to be looking forward to hearing what Pudding was talking about. Pudding paused for a moment, picked up the microphone, and continued, "First, my sister, Miss Chin Mumu, and Gao Buiyuan's engagement." After she said this, fireworks were set off on both sides of the stage. Setting off fireworks in the middle of the day was also a special sight. Little Bean was dumbfounded, but what followed was joy. Below the stage, people were already whistling and cheering. At this moment, Gao Buiyuan walked onto the stage with a pair of rings in his hands. They were custom-made by Cartier, and a pair of rings cost more than 10 million yuan. The person who paid for this pair of rings was said to be Pudding herself. Gao Ran's family was rich, but after all, he was a government official. If he was so extravagant, he would definitely be investigated by the relevant departments. Therefore, Pudding paid for it herself and comforted Gao Buiyuan for a long time, telling him not to think too much and feel guilty. "Oh my God! What's going on? Damn it, why didn't you tell me?" Little Bean began to cry as she spoke. She had truly experienced the feeling of crying tears of joy. Gao Buiyuan got down on one knee in front of so many people. "Little Bean, I'm very happy to have grown up with you. If you think I'm a good person, please give me the rest of your life. You're 18 now. I promise that when you're 24, I'll marry you. We'll spend the rest of our lives together. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm willing to give you all my love and gentleness. Oh my, look at your son. He's never been so close to us." Zhu Lingling held on to Gao Ran's arm. She was so happy that she wanted to cry, but she didn't forget to tease her son. "This kid, he's already decided on his future wife at the age of 18, he's even faster than his dad." Gao Ran exclaimed. "What do you mean by that?" "It's an arranged marriage. Mian and I agreed on it when you were still in my stomach." Zhu Lingling smiled with tears in her eyes. "Why are you crying? Answer me, or Buiyuan will run away." Seeing that Little Bean was about to cry, Pudding reminded her. "I'm not afraid. If he dares to run away, I'll break his legs," Little Bean said in a sobbing voice. Looking at this happy scene, many people below the stage were touched. Standing behind a small pine tree, Wei Yinchu's eyes were red. He didn't know if he was happy for Buiyuan or sad for himself. Chapter 4908. After crying, Little Bean helped Gao Buiyuan, who was kneeling on one knee, stand up. Someone had suggested getting engaged, but Little Bean didn't want to take care of her sister's feelings. So, she refused and thought about it later. She didn't expect them to do this behind her back. "Don't cry, or you'll turn into a panda," Pudding teased her. "Qin Zhao Zhao, how could you lie to me with them?" Little Bean was still a little excited. Below the stage, Qin Chu and Huamin, who were Little Bean's parents, sighed in their hearts. "Oh my God, Little Bean is getting engaged. She's already 18 years old. Does that mean we're old?" Huamin picked up a tissue and wiped his tears. "Our children will grow up, and will grow old one day. Mian, are you happy?" "Yeah, I'm happy. Buiyuan is a good kid, I trust him to take care of Little Bean." Gao Buiyuan was the child that Qin Chu and Huamian had watched grow up. He had a good character and was very obedient to Little Bean. No matter how one looked at it, they were a match made in heaven. Little Bean and Gao Buiyuan put on each other's engagement rings in front of the audience. Then, Gao Buiyuan carried Little Bean off the stage to touch up her makeup. Pudding stayed on the stage. She took a deep breath and adjusted her emotions. Then, she said into the microphone, "Other than my sister's engagement, I have another announcement to make." "Don't tell me you're getting engaged too," Tang Chuan shouted. Everyone was tickled by this, however, two people couldn't laugh. One was Wei Yunchu, and the other was Liao Mukin. All of them were instantly terrified. If Pudding was getting engaged, then the person she was getting engaged to was, Wei Yunchu thought it was Liao Mukin, and Liao Mukin thought it was her childhood friend. Pudding's eyes dimmed. She didn't find Uncle Tang's joke funny. After a pause, she said faintly, "This is my parents' wedding ceremony." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone in the audience stood up and gave him a thunderous round of applause. Qin Chu and Huamin looked at everyone in a daze. "Huamin, after so many years, it's finally time for your wedding." Zhu Lingling looked at Huamin, so touched that she wanted to cry. This, what's going on? Huamin wasn't prepared for this at all. He had been busy preparing for Pudding and Little Bean's coming-of-age ceremony, so he didn't even think about it. But now that Pudding said that, she really panicked. "Dad, Mom, please go to the assistant's dressing room to change. Little Bean and I have custom-made dresses for you." Before Huamin could say anything, the two of them were taken away by Pudding's assistant to get changed. During this time, Pudding held the microphone and said slowly, "Next, I'll play a piano piece for everyone. It's a gift for my parents after 20 years of marriage. It's also a gift for a friend of mine who's far away in the United States. I hope he is doing well." Hearing this, Wei Yunchu was stunned for a moment before incomparable joy spread through his heart. What did Pudding just say? She said it was a gift for a friend who was far away in the United States. Was she talking about him? When no one was looking, he sneaked into the crowd. In order to see Pudding clearly, he deliberately went up to her. Pudding elegantly turned around and sat on the white piano behind her. Then, she fluently played Richard Clayderman's most beautiful piece, Starry Sky. At this moment, Wei Yunchu couldn't hold back his tears any longer. Chapter 4909. Starry Sky was Pudding's favorite song. Although it wasn't difficult and the melody was simple, it was the song that moved her the most. Why was Wei Yunchu crying? It wasn't the first time he heard Pudding play the piano. The reason was that Pudding played this song on Wei Yunchu's 10th birthday. At that time, they were at the Wei family's private mansion. After all, the Wei family didn't lack anything, so they didn't know what gift to give him. At that time, Pudding was obsessed with the piano, so she sat in the Wei family's living room and played this song. At that time, the two of them were very close. When Pudding played the piano, she would look at Wei Yunchu gently and smile. Now that 8 years had passed, Wei Yunchu didn't expect to hear Pudding play Starry Sky again. Therefore, when he thought of the past, his tears couldn't stop flowing. He was also grateful that Pudding didn't forget about him. Suddenly, a large hand reached out, and there was even a tissue in it. "Wipe it. It's not appropriate for a man to cry like this." Wei Yunchu looked up abruptly and saw Qin Guogua standing beside him. "How did you know it was me?" Wei Yunchu was a bit surprised. Other than his mother, no one else seemed to know that he would be here today. "I saw the surveillance video at my house and saw you." Only then did Wei Yunchu realize, "You're wondering why I would check the video, right?" Qin Guogua's lips curled up. Wei Yunchu didn't say anything, "Because I think you can't let go of her. You can't miss such an important day." "Yes, I won't miss it." Wei Yunchu's voice was still trembling. "How is it? Are you touched? I didn't expect my sister to play Starry Sky again." Qin Guogua put his arm around Wei Yunchu's shoulder and looked at the girl on the stage who was deeply immersed in playing the meaningful song. "I didn't expect it either." Wei Yunchu told the truth. "So today is a good opportunity. I think you should go and see her," Qin Guogua said. Wei Yunchu didn't say anything. After Pudding played the song, Qin Chu and Huamin changed into their wedding gowns and tuxedos. The size was just right, and the style was what they liked. Why? Pudding found the staff who had prepared Chin Chu's wedding and got the design proposal. He remembered that Chin Chu had spent a long time preparing for his wedding, but it was ruined by Hua Xichen in the end. Later on, because of Su Yu, Hua Min was unwilling to hold a wedding. All these years, Chin Chu had thought that he would not be able to wait any longer. She never thought that she would have the opportunity to see Hua Min in a wedding dress at her daughter's 18th birthday party 20 years after they registered their marriage. Although she was no longer young, she was still the most beautiful bride. Oh my God, I want to cry like a dog. I saw my Mian in a wedding gown again. Zhu Lingling leaned into Gao Ran's arms and covered her face as she sobbed. Jiang Xiaowei also took a tissue and kept wiping her tears. Jixin, Bella, Cici, and their other friends were also crying. Lu Yan held Xiao Fei's hand tightly. She was indescribably excited. Yan, why do I feel like you're more nervous than your sister? Xiao Fei teased her. Of course, my sister is an old bride in her 40s. How can I not be worried? What if she gets hurt? Xiao Fei smiled but didn't say anything. At this moment, Master Wu walked to the center of the stage in a Chinese tunic suit. Mr. Chin Chu, do you take Miss Hua Min as your wife and stay by her side for the rest of your life, in sickness and in poverty? Chapter 49:10. I do. Chin Chu only had eyes for Hua Min. This was the woman he had loved his whole life. Then, Miss Hua Min, do you agree to marry Mr. Chin Chu and stay by his side for the rest of your life, in sickness and in poverty? Hua Min stared at Chin Chu, tears rolling down her cheeks like pearls from a broken necklace. Little Bean stared at her mother nervously, afraid that something would go wrong at this critical moment. 5 seconds later, Hua Min calmed down. I do. As soon as she said those words, music started playing and colorful balloons rose from the ground of South Hill Manor. It formed the most beautiful scenery. Many guests took out their mobile phones to take pictures of this happy moment. After Chin Chu and Hua Min exchanged rings, they hugged and kissed passionately. This wedding that was 20 years late was finally, it was done today, and it was done perfectly, making up for the only regret of their lives. Chin Chu was very grateful to his 2 daughters. They had put in so much effort to design this segment. He didn't know before, so he was very surprised at this moment. After all the events were over, the guests began to enjoy their lunch. Chin Chu spent a lot of money for his daughters. The banquet cost more than 100,000 yuan, which was unprecedented. Everyone had an Australian lobster, top-grade sea cucumber, 4-headed abalone, and a very precious wild ginseng tonic soup. Pudding and Little Bean went backstage, removed their makeup, changed into simple red dresses, and walked out again. When they came out, Qin Yuya put his arm around Pudding's neck. Sis, I want to talk to you. What? I have a friend who wants to meet you. Who? Don't ask anymore. Just give me some face and go greet them, okay? Why are you so high profile now? You dare to act first and ask later. I didn't say yes, but you said yes. Pudding glared at her little brother. I know you won't reject me. Let's go. Hey, Qin Guogua, why do you have to know her? Why don't you know me? We're twins. If she doesn't want to, I can make you look like the real deal. Ha! Little Bean laughed arrogantly. Forget it. You're fatter than Sis. Sis, go find your brother Buyuan. Don't waste our time. Hearing his words, Little Bean was so angry that she turned around and followed Buyuan to the table to eat. Pudding was taken to the back garden of the villa by Qin Yuyao. There were very few people here and it was very quiet. Stinking brat, you're not playing tricks on me, are you? No, sis, it's really my friend who wants to see you. You just have to say hello to her, really. Qin Yuyao patiently explained to his sister to calm her down, afraid that she would go back on her words at the last minute. Then it's a deal. It's not that I don't want to give you face, but I still have to toast the elders in a while, so I really can only say goodbye to your friend and leave. Okay, 1 minute is enough. My friend's wish is fulfilled when she sees you. Qin Yuyao continued to persuade her. What kind of friend is she? If she's not a fan, why does she want to see me? Liao Mukin and Auntie Yao Yao are both big shots. Why don't you see them? Pudding was puzzled. She worships you. Who asked you to be a super tycoon, humph? You must be bragging to her again. The siblings chatted as they walked and soon walked into a small garden in the back garden. A person stood there, his back looked strange yet familiar to Pudding. Sis, you say hello first. I'll come back later. Qin Guogua immediately found an excuse and slipped away. Pudding walked over and was about to speak when the person turned around. Pudding's mind went blank instantly. Chapter 49:11. Yunchu. Pudding hadn't called him by this name for a long time. The moment she opened her mouth and heard her own voice, she couldn't help but cry. Qin Yuyao knew that Wei Yunchu was here, so how could he not let him see his sister? In Qin Yuyao's heart, he had long treated Wei Yunchu as his brother-in-law and was as close to him as Gao Buiyuan. That was why he deliberately created this opportunity to meet him alone. Pudding never thought that 5 years later, when they met again, it would be under such circumstances. Wei Yunchu reached out and slowly took off his hat. His handsome face was revealed. Compared to 5 years ago, he had grown taller and more handsome. He was wearing an overseas casual brand, a dark gray jacket with a slight blue tinge, a pair of simple jeans, and white sneakers. Just like before, he was clean and silent. You're very beautiful today. I'm so glad that I didn't miss it. Wei Yunchu's voice was intermittent. It was obvious that he was also very emotional. After he said that, Pudding cried even harder. Wei Yunchu walked over and took out a white handkerchief from his pocket. He carefully wiped her tears. Don't cry. Today is a good day. We have to be happy. Pudding couldn't help but hug Wei Yunchu's waist with both hands. Then, she leaned on his shoulder and cried even harder. There was grievance, longing, sadness, surprise. There were too many complicated emotions. Wei Yunchu's body trembled when Pudding hugged him. He didn't expect Pudding, who had always been calm, to lose her composure like this. How could they be so intimate? Then, he felt joy in his heart. He reached out and wrapped his arms around Pudding, hugging her gently. It was as if he was afraid that his girl would disappear at any moment. No matter what the outcome was this time, being able to see her, talk to her, and hug her was already the best outcome. Wei Yunchu had nothing else to ask for. When Pudding played Starry Sky on stage and said that she wanted to give it to her friend in the United States, Liao Mukin became abnormally silent and depressed. During the meal, he ate a few bites and stood up. Han Yueyao was curious. Are you feeling unwell, Chin Chin? No, I'm just a little stuffy. I'm going out to get some fresh air. Liao Mukin stood up and walked to a bench in the corner. He sat down. Then, he took out a ring from the pocket of his suit. It was a ring of eternal love from Bulgari. He had bought it when he went to Europe to attend a film festival. At that time, she wanted to find a chance to confess to her boss. Even if she was rejected, she wouldn't feel sad. She had to try. But today, when he heard Pudding say that she was going to give Wei Yunchu a piano piece, he was shocked. Only then did he realize how insignificant he was in Pudding's heart. It was not enough for her to remember him. Pudding hadn't looked at him since he came today. So, at that moment, all his confidence had been completely shattered. Her courage to confess to him also faded away. It was as if he had already predicted the outcome before it had even begun. At this moment, the old man in a Chinese tunic suit walked over. He was Master Wu, but Liao Mukin did not recognize him. "Young man, is there something on your mind?" Master Wu asked him. Master Wu wasn't a busybody, but the first time he saw this kid, he looked a lot like Su Yu. He had mixed feelings. Even though he was a Taoist priest who had abandoned the mortal world, he couldn't help but be shocked and disturbed by his face. "I like someone, but I feel like she doesn't like me," Liao Mukin said dejectedly. Chapter 49:12. Since you know she doesn't like you, why are you still worried? But I still like her. I don't think I can let go. Liao Mukin teased Pudding half-heartedly in the beginning, but later on, he really fell in love with her. Pudding was cold all year round, and when she occasionally smiled gently at him, he felt bad. It was the feeling of falling in love, that was why he fell deeper and deeper. However, when he found out that Pudding didn't like him, he still felt devastated. After all, love was mutual. Unrequited love was always painful. Master Wu smiled and patted Liao Mukin's shoulder. "I used to have a friend who was like you. He fell in love with a girl in his 20s, but that girl didn't like him. What happened after that?" Liao Mukin listened seriously and became curious. Later on, he couldn't get what he wanted and suffered for the rest of his life. "So, I hope that you can pull back before it's too late. Don't fall too deep. Don't have too deep of an obsession. One-sided love is always too tender to bear fruit. You're so young, why do you have to do this? In the end, that girl didn't fall in love with your friend." "That's right. My friend watched the person he loved get married and have children in front of him. When the child grew up, he was still alone. How's your friend now? Is he married?" Liao Mukin didn't know why, but he felt a little regretful even though it was someone who had nothing to do with him. Master Wu paused for a moment, his gaze distant. "My friend has already left this world." Liao Mukin remained silent. This was a heavy and heart-wrenching story, so he didn't want to ask in detail. He also knew that if he couldn't stop himself from falling off the cliff in time, the more painful it would be in the future. Compared to Wei Yunchu, he probably had no chance of winning. This was because Wei Yunchu and Pudding grew up together. They were true childhood sweethearts. Furthermore, they were well matched in terms of social status. The Wei family, the Qin family, the Shen family, and the Tang family were still the most powerful and oldest families in this city. He was just a small celebrity, a small fish that went with the flow. His fate was in the hands of the bosses, so how could he talk about love? Loving someone might not be that heavy for him. But loving Pudding was too heavy. "Master, thank you for your words. I understand." After chatting with Master Wu for a while, Liao Mukin seemed to be enlightened. He stood up with a smile and hid the ring he had bought in his suit pocket. He didn't take it out to fiddle with it. Watching the young man leave, Master Wu sighed softly. If he's still here, he should have white hair by now. Back garden Pudding and Wei Yunchu sat side by side at the edge of the corridor. "When did you come back? Why didn't I know anything about it?" After calming down, they chatted like two good friends. "I've been back for 2 days. Then why didn't you call me?" Pudding was angry. It's a surprise. Wei Yunchu lowered his head and smiled faintly. Pudding suddenly thought of something and asked, "Did Tian Tian come back with you?" "I bumped into her at dinner a few days ago." Wei Yunchu shook his head. "She didn't come back with me. She's been back for a long time. She's been fooling around outside without telling my aunt." Pudding nodded. She believed Wei Yunchu. You and Tian Tian, you and Liao Mukin, the two of them asked the same question almost at the same time. Chapter 49:13. You go first. Pudding was embarrassed that she made a fool of herself. No. Ladies first. Wei Yunchu never talked before Pudding. It had been like this all these years. It was as if they had gone back to their childhood. Pudding was very emotional. She said slowly, "In the 5 years you were abroad, did you and Tian Tian develop?" Wei Yunchu chuckled. "What are you laughing at?" Pudding pouted, looking domineering and bashful like a little girl. "You know me best. You know I won't have anything to do with Tian Tian, but you still asked. I really think you're trying to prank me." "I didn't. Although I know you, I still want to hear it from you." Pudding's domineering manner was just like Chin Chu's. She was like a female version of Chin Chu. "No. Even though she went abroad with me and went to the same school, we didn't have much to do with each other. In the past 5 years, I wasn't interested in all the ugly things she did overseas. After all, she was never someone I cared about. Pudding, you know, when we were 5 years old, we already knew what kind of person Tian Tian was. Over the years, all the elders knew that she couldn't fool anyone other than my auntie and uncle." Pudding nodded. Wei Yunchu was right. Everyone knew what kind of person Tian Tian was, except for Wei Ying and Shen Mingxi. Even if they knew, they still felt guilty because of Hui Yinyan's death years ago. "Then I'm done." Hearing Wei Yunchu deny it, Pudding felt very happy. "Then you and Liao Mukin." Wei Yunchu didn't finish, but his meaning was obvious. Pudding smiled slightly. "I'll use your words. You don't know me, so why do you think I'm interested in an artist under my company who I've known for less than 2 years? Because I heard, he looks like the person in your heart." Wei Yunchu knew that after he said this, Pudding would turn on him immediately. After all, he couldn't tell her the person in his heart, but if he didn't bring it up, it would be a hurdle that he couldn't get over in the future. So, sooner or later, he had to bring it up. Even if Pudding told him now that she was still the person in love, he wouldn't regret it. As a person, one should live with clarity and not be muddle-headed for the rest of one's life. As expected, Pudding's expression changed drastically. "Pudding, 5 years ago, we were still young. There were a lot of things we didn't talk about. I also felt like I died for no reason. A few months ago, I went to Germany and found Yao. I also told him that I couldn't forget you. I couldn't forget every moment of our lives growing up. So this time, even if I die, let me know, okay? About the person in your heart. Can you tell me your story?" Pudding had planned to explain everything to Wei Yunchu. But he didn't expect the two of them to meet so soon. So when Wei Yunchu asked this question, she didn't know where to start. "Yunchu. I did have such a person in my heart, but he is no longer in this world." "I know." Wei Yunchu also guessed that that person was no longer in this world. Otherwise, why would Pudding have other emotions when she saw Liao Mukin, who looked similar? "So, since he's no longer in this world, are you still interested in knowing the story between me and him?" Pudding tilted her head, her eyes a little red. Chapter 49:14. Wei Yinchu's heart ached, but he also knew that if he didn't ask now, he might not have a chance in the future. I want to know. I want to know everything about you and him. Okay, if that's the case. I'll tell you. Perhaps today was a very important day for Pudding, so she made an exception and took the initiative to tell Wei Yunchu the story of her and Su Yu. South Hill Manor, near the Rainbow Fountain. Qin Yuyao found it too noisy inside, so he ran out after eating a few mouthfuls. Then, he leaned against a Greek relief with his headphones on, enjoying the wind and listening to music. All of a sudden, a ball of paper was thrown at him and hit his handsome face directly. He opened his eyes with a gloomy expression. Then, he saw a 13 or 14-year-old girl running over. She was wearing a purple gown and had curly hair. She was very cute. Ha! I'm sorry, I really hit you. I didn't expect to hit you from such a distance. The girl had a mischievous look on her face. Then, she picked up the ball of paper from the ground and threw it into the trash can. So, shouldn't you apologize first if you hit someone? Qin Yuyao looked the girl up and down unkindly. You don't have to apologize when the time comes. Anyway, even if I apologize, you won't really forgive me. After all, you've already cursed me 1,000 times in your heart, you. Qin Yuyao really didn't know what to say. This damn girl didn't play by the rules. While he was stunned, the girl walked up to him. She smiled mysteriously. You're the young master of the Qin family, right? You know me. Qin Yuyao was surprised. No, I guessed. You look so much like your father. Uncle Qin is the most handsome man I've ever seen. You're so good-looking too. You must be the young master of the Qin family who's studying abroad. I think it's a pity that you're not a detective. Qin Yuyao teased. I want to be a detective, but the country is peaceful now. It's not the time for us detectives to show off our skills. If I really open a private detective agency, I'm afraid I'll receive orders from rich wives to track down mistresses. That's so low. It's not my style. After the girl finished speaking, Qin Yuyao was amused. She didn't look very old, but she didn't think that it was quite interesting. What are you laughing at? I'm serious. Then what kind of detective do you want to be? Like Conan. Qin Yuyao continued to tease her. No, Detective Conan is an anime. In the real world, how can there be so many dead people and murderers? It's all a lie to children. I just feel that if I can join the criminal investigation unit in the future, I can help the police solve some terrible murder cases. It's best if it's a crime with a high IQ. You're thinking too much. But if you have this idea, you can go and meet Gao Buiyuan. He's from the police academy, Qin Yuyao said. Gao Buiyuan. Is he the son of that provincial leader? Yes, that's him. I don't dare to go. He's getting engaged today, and his girlfriend is too scary. She's a tigress. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I can't say that directly. After all, she's your sister, right? It's okay. You can say that about her. I don't mind. You don't have a good relationship with your second sister. The little girl covered her mouth and chuckled. No, we have a good relationship. Then why did you? This is how our family gets along. Qin Yuyao said. Wow, you're so interesting. I like you. Do you mind if I become your wife in the future? The little girl was very straightforward. She came up and asked directly. Chapter 49:15. Scared, Qin Yuyao took several steps back, afraid that she would rush up to him. Very much. Why? My family is rich too. My dad and your dad are best business partners. The little girl pouted. You're too ugly. Qin Yuyao didn't give her any face. Damn it. How dare you say I'm ugly? I'm a famous beauty. My fans on Weibo all say I look like Zhang Zi, forget it. Zhang Fei looks similar. Ha! How can you talk to a girl like that? You're so ungentlemanly. You've wasted your time abroad. I don't need gentlemanly with you. You're not my friend, wait for me. I'm going to tell your dad right now. Whatever. See you later. Perhaps only Qin Guoguo would do something like this to have such an unpleasant conversation on their first meeting. Fortunately, the little girl was strong-willed and didn't cry. Otherwise, Qin Chu would have had to teach his son a lesson. On the other side of the table, Gao Buiyuan and Little Bean sat side by side in a lovey-dovey manner. Qiao Tuanchuan and Qiao Yuanyuan were so upset that they left before they finished their meal. Little Bean, eat more. Look at how skinny you are. Gao Buiyuan put a piece of braised pork in Little Bean's bowl. Buiyuan, don't you feel guilty for saying that? She's skinny. Tang Tianjiao couldn't hold it in anymore. Tang Tianjiao, shut up. I'll beat you up. Little Bean raised her arm. Fine, fine, fine. You two can keep showing off your love. I can't stand it anymore. Then, Tang Tianjiao left the table. Where's my sister? She's not back yet. Little Bean suddenly remembered that her sister wasn't back for dinner. So, she called out. Qin Guoguo. Speak. Qin Guoguo happened to come back and heard her call. Where's sis? She's chatting with my friend. Didn't you say 1 minute? Little Bean was puzzled. Maybe, she's chatting with my friend and they have similar interests. Bullshit. I don't believe you. Tell me, where did you take our sister? Little Bean obviously didn't believe Qin Guoguo. She was really chatting with his friend. No, I have to go see her. Don't. If you go, you'll disturb her. Just sit there and eat. Fat pig. Who are you calling a pig? Little Bean glared at him. I'm talking about myself. That's more like it. Little Bean tilted her head and turned around to continue eating the braised pork with Buiyuan. She didn't want to look for her sister anymore. At this moment, Pudding had already told Wei Yunchu everything that had happened. This story had to start from when Suyu chased after Huamin and ended when Suyu left this world. After hearing this, Wei Yunchu was completely shocked. He couldn't believe it, but he knew better than anyone that Pudding never lied. So, Pudding, the man in your heart all these years is actually, our Uncle Suyu. Pudding nodded slowly. For the first time, he realized that he was able to share the secret in his heart with someone. It was as if a huge rock had been lifted from his heart. Oh my God. So the elders don't know about this. Except for you and Little Bean. Fifth Grandpa knows, Pudding added. So Buiyuan and Yao don't know that I'm the fourth person to know the secret. Wei Yunchu looked incredulous. Pudding nodded again. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.